Green blood sprays across the floor as laser-thin slashes tear through a horde of sewer demons in a split second. Our guy stands in the dark, red eye glowing, stepping over decapitated monsters and muttering that this fight was utterly boring. He thinks he's just flexing on some digital code. He has no idea the woods outside are painted red with real human blood, and people are hiding in the dark, praying not to be eaten alive. But to understand how a sweaty VR gamer managed to turn a virtual tutorial into a literal living nightmare, look at this guy. Single glowing red eye, staring down a skeletal demon beast that looks like it crawled straight out of Dark Souls. Energy blasts are exploding everywhere. The monster is screaming at him to die, firing lethal dark spikes directly at his neck, and our main character is just lying on the floor, questioning his life choices. He coughs up blood, wondering why he has to suffer like this when he just wanted to escape real life. He bites his lip, grabs his glowing red sword, and stands right back up while the demon talks trash. He grips the blade, screaming at the top of his lungs that he wants to stop role-playing and go home. Then boom, a system loading screen pops up in full 4K HD. Suddenly, a tragic cutscene plays out. A little girl in a white dress gets slaughtered. Her birthday dress turns completely red. The older brother Knight rushes in and gets deleted instantly. The older sister grabs a spiked club, screaming in pure rage, tears falling from her eyes, only to get cut down just as fast. The mother pushes the youngest kid back, telling him to run, while the poor kid cries, begging because he's a knight too. Everyone dies right in front of him. His father gets impaled through the chest. The kid grabs a sword, his mind completely snapping as the world goes red, and he wakes up alone under the moonlight. A dark blade pierces straight into his right arm, black energy pulsing under his skin. He collapses onto the dirt road, gasping for air, unable to even stand up, when a pitch-black shadow creature stands over him, grinning with pure malice. It grabs his face, calling him a fine vessel. The kid can only stare in absolute terror as the shadow takes over. Then a divine prayer echoes out, wishing for a soul strong enough to overcome evil, a warrior who can slaughter demons, asking if anyone can hear his voice. And gasp. Our guy opens his eyes, panting like he just finished a marathon in a VR headset. A random guy in a wagon yells at him to get off, breaking the dramatic tension instantly. Our main character steps down silently, scaring the wagon driver half to death just by existing. He walks away in silence, looking like Todoroki's edgy long-lost brother, his boots clanking on the pavement, while the wagon guy calls him an unlucky bastard behind his back. Our guy looks dead serious on the outside, but internally, he's literally squealing like an anime fangirl at a convention. He's obsessing over how insane the immersion is, praising the realistic tutorial NPCs. He admits he almost did a victory dance right in the middle of town. Welcome to Legend of Heroes, the newly launched VR remake of a classic Korean game. The original game shut down 15 years ago, but now it's back in full virtual reality. And our main character? He's not just a gamer. He's a hardcore role player, flexing his eye patch and whispering about his burning eyes. He immediately breaks fourth wall to clarify he doesn't have chunibyo, okay? He just plays for fun. He literally brought his own custom concept art drawing to flex his character build. His class is Demon Knight, a tragic hero whose right arm holds the demon that killed his family. He has to constantly suppress the demon inside him, because if he loses control, everyone around him gets turned into mincemeat. So he distances himself from society, living as a lone, edgy wolf. He conceals his fragile heart behind an ice-cold exterior, and he's extremely proud of this backstory. Look at him striking a pose. He dropped hundreds of extra dollars on cosmetic gear just for the fluttering coat aesthetics. Real financially responsible behavior right there. He clears his throat, telling himself it's time to start the actual game. He looks up at the sky, confused why no quest window is popping up. No minimap, no tutorial prompt, just total silence. Suddenly, a random kid NPC walks up, asking if he's the famous Demon Knight. Our guy just stands there, looking down at the kid like a dark lord. Internally, he's panicking because no dialogue options appeared, so he goes full edgy mode, and cold says, "Lead the way." The poor kid flinches like he was just threatened with execution. The kid quickly turns around, telling him to follow him to the Adventurers Guild. Our guy thinks the kid is just acting out his programmed NPC role super well. He walks through the crowded streets, hearing townspeople gossip about rebels and demons. He assumes the game devs must have locked 500 overworked coders in a basement to make AI this realistic. They arrive at a wooden door, and our guy steps inside, eye glowing slightly. Welcome to the Tatara Adventurers Guild Hall, packed with mercenaries and chatter. He looks at the wooden floorboards, genuinely wondering if the game company captured an alien to build this engine. A female clerk with a high ponytail approaches them. She introduces herself as Isran, showing off a cute single fang. She recognizes his edgy outfit instantly and asks for his adventurer's token. Our guy opens his inventory screen, and the massive golden UI box pops up directly in front of his eyes, blocking his entire vision. Peak video game UI design, completely blinding the player mid-conversation. He hands over his silver medal token, and Isrin confirms it. She tells him the client is in an urgent situation and asks him to follow her. He follows her inside, hyped up for his first official tutorial quest. They enter a private room, and an old bald guy with glasses immediately roasts him, calling him a pain in the ass. The old guildmaster says no two people could look as ominous as him, asking if he has a death wish. Our guy thinks this old NPC has zero chill, but he loves that he can talk trash back without real-world consequences. He ponders his dialogue choice to make sure he doesn't lower his affinity points. He narrows his eyes, picking the edgiest line in his arsenal, and whispers, "Your tongue lacks manners." Instantly, the entire room goes dead silent. The clerk and the guildmaster look utterly horrified. Our guy scratches his head internally, confused why the NPCs are reacting like he just declared war. And in hindsight, he really should have realized something was horribly wrong right then and there. The entire guild office is frozen in pure shock. Our guy is still waiting for the quest prompt to pop up like a normal game. The clerk nervously asks if he took the job without even knowing what it was. He strikes another dramatic anime pose, thinking this high-level realistic reaction is a dream come true for roleplayers. Isrin looks at him with pure concern, and our guy leans in, asking if whatever he's about to cut down could actually put him in danger. His red eye flashes, calling the monsters pathetic insects. Isrin literally gulps in fear, completely intimidated by his aura. The worker guy steps in, waving his hands to calm everyone down so they can start the briefing. He explains that something went terrible in the city sewers. Workers went in, but zero came back. The sewers are now completely infested with disgusting demon beasts. The missing workers are definitely dead, but they need him to recover their bodies and belongings. The old guildmaster slams his cane, complaining that hired demon hunters failed and the holy temple is too slow. He looks at our MC's thin build, doubting if a guy who looks this frail can even swing a sword. Our guy scoffs, telling the old man not to compare him to those weaklings since clearing a sewer is just basic housekeeping. The old man clicks his tongue in annoyance at his sheer arrogance. Internally, our main character is sweating bullets, wanting to break character and explain himself. He convinces himself that arrogant role-playing is better than dealing with toxic real player trolls. Isrin prepares the formal contract, stating the main goal is eliminating sewer demons and finding missing items. Our guy asks how many workers failed to return, and the answer is 13. The deadline is 1 month, but they give him 2 extra days since he traveled far. Now for the reward, 400,000 gal, but after a 5% brokerage fee, he gets 380,000. Our guy's soul practically leaves his body. They took a 5% tax on a tutorial quest? Guilds out here operating like Uber Eats with hidden charges. Isrin hands him the finalized contract with a bright, innocent smile. He signs the paper, and finally, the Golden System quest window pops up, cleansing the sewers. He smiles like a happy idiot, relieved the game logic actually works. They inform him an in-room has been reserved for him by the Merchant Guild. The worker hands him a folded paper map of the sewers, an analog mini-map. The worker looks him dead in the eye, saying they're counting on him. Our guy notices the look in the worker's eyes. It's the genuine worry of a man sending someone to a suicide mission. He adjusts his coat, feeling like an actor stepping onto a Broadway stage, declaring that failure is not an option. Cut to the giant iron gate of the sewer entrance opening up with a heavy creak. Our Dark Knight stands at the threshold, shadows wrapping around him. The guard tells him they're counting on him to get rid of those damn demons. Our guy flexes his massive greatsword, the true two-hander of destruction. A giant mutant sewer rat jumps out, and bam, he slashes it in half, dark blood splattering everywhere. He stands over the dead rat and panics because his sword durability just dropped from 100 to 99 after ONE hit. He realizes the sewers are too cramped for a greatsword and switches his weapon setup. He draws a sleek, balanced longsword instead to preserve his equipment. He puts on his edgy combat face, ready to start grinding XP. He walks deeper into the dark tunnel while the guard watches from behind. The guard whispers to himself that this demon hunter is in a complete league of his own. The heavy iron gate slams shut behind him. Our guy disappears into the pitch-black sewer corridors. A short while later, his eyes glow red in the dark as he growls at the demon bastards. Green goblins charge at him, and his blade becomes a green streak of pure death. Multiple slashes cross-cut through the air, dicing 5 monsters at once. He charges forward, decapitating sewer demons without taking a single scratch. He stares down the remaining monsters, threatening to send them straight back to hell. A goblin head lands on the stone floor with a wet thud. He steps over the corpse, declaring the battle utterly boring. The quest counter updates. 71 demons eliminated. All bonus objectives cleared. He stops walking and literally starts crying in frustration because not a single piece off loot dropped. He screams at the ceiling, calling it a trash-stingy game for giving 0 item drops. He's so salty, he almost considers looting the dirty goblin corpses manually. Suddenly, he spots something ahead, a human kid hanging upside down, tied up in thorny vines. With one swift motion, he slashes the vines, sending the kid falling, and catches him cleanly by the foot with his armored gauntlet. He holds the kid upside down like a sack of groceries, while the kid stammers a thank you. The quest window confirms the optional objective, rescue the child. Our guy remembers his character's tragic backstory cutscene involving a dead younger brother. He feels a rare moment of relief, glad he could save this kid at least. He thinks his edgy character build would naturally soften up around young children. He hesitates to head pat the kid with his sharp demon gauntlet, stating that protecting the weak is a knight's duty. The kid looks up with wide eyes, asking if he's a real knight. Our guy nods, refusing to act like a jerk to a child. He asks why the kid was trapped down here, and the boy replies that his mom went to clean the sewers and never came back. The kid looks at his reflection in the filthy sewer water, apologizing for coming alone. Our main character turns around, telling him sternly that kids are supposed to be happy and it wasn't his responsibility. The boy looks down, crying softly, and saying he's sorry. Internally, our guy breaks character completely, hugging the kid in his mind and crying over how precious he is. He pulls out the recovered items from his bag, and the kid instantly recognizes his mother's belongings, lying next to a skeleton. The boy breaks down into hysterical, heart-shattering tears right there in the dark. Our main character carries the exhausted, crying child on his back as he walks out of the sewer. He marvels at the VR game's AI, assuming a child actor played this role to make it so realistic. He walks down the long stone corridor, thankful that all this suffering is just a video game. A system text message floats in the air. Purification. Make sure demons never set foot on this land again. And our main character reflects back, wishing he had paid more attention to that system message. Suddenly, a panicked man bursts into the guild hall, screaming for reinforcements. He yells that an emergency red flare was fired nearby. Multiple casualties reported. Our guy's eye widens as the tension spikes to absolute max. Out in the dark woods, bodies are lying in pools of fresh blood, brutalized beyond recognition. A dying man stares up at the night sky in utter horror. A young boy hides behind a tree, clutching his bleeding arm, terrified out of his mind. He covers his mouth, trembling in complete silence, as a terrifying demonic creature growls right beside him in the dark. After stepping out of that dark sewer, the kid finally snaps back to reality and asks if his mom is happy in heaven with God. Our guy looks down at him, thinking that if a god exists in this world, it is definitely the game dev team, but he answers with a straight face anyway. Deep down, he is genuinely praying the developers are not actual psychopaths, because watching an NPC child process grief in Ultra HD graphics is hitting him way harder than it should. They walk straight back into the Tatara Guild Hall, where Isrin spots them at the entrance. She freezes, noticing the quiet kid following right behind him. Our guy explains that this is a laborer's kid who snuck down there looking for his family, then tells her to handle the details. He drops a massive canvas sack onto the wooden counter with a heavy thud. He explains these are all the recovered items from the sewer expedition, while internally regretting that he let the kid keep his mother's belongings instead of adding them to the delivery. Isrin opens the bag, her eyes going wide, as she asks if these belong to all 13 missing workers. Our MC hits her with a cold edgelord side-eye and asks what else it would look like, making her shrink back instantly. She sifts through the bag and pulls out the metallic adventurer tags, her fingers trembling. She hugs the sack tightly to her chest, lowering her head in quiet respect. She thanks him with absolute sincerity on behalf of the entire guild, while our MC internally whines about having to search every single corner of that sewer without a quest marker. But seeing an NPC display this kind of raw, genuine relief actually melts his cold gamer heart just a little bit. She snaps out of it and asks if he is done for the day or heading back out. He tilts his head, looking at her like she just asked the most absurd question in human history. She sheepishly suggests that maybe taking a rest would be good for him. Rest? In this economy? He literally drained his real-life bank account for a full-dive gaming rig so he could sit inside a waterproof capsule and play 24 hours straight without sleep. He completely misinterprets her normal concern as a dialogue prompt for a hidden side quest. He wonders if there is a purification spell mechanic he forgot to cast before returning. He turns back around and asks her directly about purification. Isrin stammers, asking if he actually eliminated every single demon down in those tunnels. He steps closer, asking why else he would have bothered walking back here in the first place. Internally, he thinks her reaction is overdramatic, but externally he commits to the bit, dropping a dark glare and asking if she is looking down on him. Isrin panics so hard her head turns into an anime blur as she frantically apologizes. She promises to take full custody of the child and run to grab the client to finish up the paperwork. While waiting around, our guy decides to open his character interface and check his progress. The golden quest window chimes in, officially marking the sewer mission complete and dropping 400,000 gal into his inventory. He complains internally that the game developers made a brutal economy where basic mobs drop zero money, forcing players to rely entirely on quest payouts. The guild worker and the old guild master walk over, explaining they covered the brokerage fee and will handle selling the demon parts. He remembers there is a butchering skill that lets you harvest monster corpses for extra gold, but he did not put a single stat point into it. because in his mind, a true dark edgelord would never spend time skinning rats for spare change. He opens his skill tree, revealing he dumped every single skill point into edgy Chunabu combat moves like Roar of Resentment and Kiss of Corruption. And since this is a single-player RPG, he does not have to worry about team balance, meaning he can build the most impractical, visually ridiculous edgelord build imaginable. He grabs his payment bag and cold shoulders the room, asking if their business is finished. He turns on his heel to leave as the final quest cleared prompt pops up. Suddenly, the front door bursts open, and a guild messenger screams for the guildmaster, while the old man barks back at him for galloping inside like a wild animal. The guy gasps for air, yelling that an emergency signal flare just went up right outside the town borders. The entire room goes cold. The guy explains the Holy City guards are moving too slow, and our MC immediately realizes this is the game seamlessly feeding him the next main story questline. The guildmaster rants about guards eating up tax money without doing their jobs, then orders his boys to mobilize. He points his wooden cane straight at our guy and tells him he is going out there too. Our guy leans back and hits him with a stone-cold glare, telling the old man not to order him around. The old man yells about loyalty and screams that he will pay him handsomely if he just gets out there and helps. That is literally all he needed to hear. He accepts the contract on the spot and heads for the door. A new quest prompt flashes across his vision, featuring a bonus payout scaling directly with survivor count. The messenger tells him to fall in line with the main mercenary force, but our guy cuts him off immediately. He sees the survivor counter ticking down in real time and realizes this is a time attack event with zero room for delays. The old man tells the messenger to let him go solo since he cleared the sewer alone, which earns the guildmaster huge points in our guy's book. Our MC rushes outside and hops onto a horse, bragging internally that his hundreds of hours in horseback riding simulators are about to pay off. He rides out full speed, treating these dying civilians like walking packages of experience points. Cut to the deep forest, under a blood-red sunset sky. Horse hooves slam into the dirt, kicking up dust and embers. Our MC draws his sword and takes a deep breath, preparing his pre-fight voice line. He charges straight through the trees, crashing directly into a pack of green sewer demons. "Glory to the heavens!" he roars, striking sheer terror into the monsters before him. The pinned mercenaries look up in utter shock, wondering if this single guy riding in is just the vanguard force. A demon raises its club to finish off a wounded mercenary lying on the ground. Our MC leaps high into the air, abandoning his horse mid-stride. He drops like a meteor right into the center of the battlefield. He impales the demon right in front of the bleeding mercenary, asking cold-bloodedly if he asked to be saved. The mercenary stares up at him, completely speechlessly overwhelmed by the entrance. Our guy draws his red blade without even glancing back at the man. His eye patch glows crimson as dark energy ignites around his eye. "I will tear you apart, you bugs!" he screams, sweeping his blade through the air. Massive red energy beams slice through the forest in an explosive X-shaped pattern, tearing through the demon ranks. A single vertical strike cleaves a giant demon completely in half from top to bottom. The surviving mercenaries watch from the mud, clutching their wounds and trembling in pure terror. Blood sprays across our guy's face as he stands over the piles of minced monster flesh, smiling internally at the massive experience gain. The mercenaries stare at his blood-soaked outline, whispering among themselves, wondering if the man who just saved them is actually a monster. He stands dramatically against the crimson sky, dark aura flaring off his coat like a walking end boss. Meanwhile, miles away on a distant hill, a red-haired female paladin clad in silver armor feels a sudden, massive spike of demonic mana. She turns to her archmage companion, stating they need to redirect their path toward Tatara trading post the moment day breaks. She stares into the sunset with sharp green eyes, sensing a terrifyingly strong demonic presence looming on the horizon. Back in the woods, our MC wipes the monster blood off his cheek, checking his live tracker. 30 out of 52 survivors left. He complains internally about how realistic this game engine is because he can literally taste the bitter monster flesh, while a rescued civilian stammers out his gratitude. Suddenly, another survivor collapses nearby, foaming at the mouth as dark purple veins spread across his skin. The mercenaries panic, realizing they only have basic sedatives left and zero cures for dark corruption. Our MC stares at the convulsing man as a light bulb goes off in his head. He remembers the corruption gauge mechanic from the original game, where taking damage from demons builds up an infection meter until you mutate into a monster. His Demon Knight class gets a free pass on this mechanic because he is already demon-possessed, which is visually represented by his little dark arm friend waving happily. He opens his inventory window, deciding to burn through his high-grade starter stash so he can maximize the survivor count quest bonus. He tosses a glowing green glass bottle directly at the mercenary squad leader. The squad leader catches it in shock, recognizing it as a high-tier demonic energy antidote antidote pill. Our guy starts tossing stacks of bandages, sedatives, and purifiers into the air like an overgeared Santa Claus. The mercenaries scramble to catch the supplies while our MC strikes an edgy nose-scratching pose, convinced the developers crammed his inventory with consumables specifically for this scripted event. He checks his system interface, watching the survivor tally officially lock in at 27 out of 52. Heavy hoofbeats echo through the dark trees in the distance. The actual reinforcement unit finally arrives on horseback, yelling that everyone is saved. The primary quest complete window flashes gold across his vision. Immediately after, a follow-up prompt appears: recover 25 bodies and retrieve lost items. He stares at the screen in disbelief, realizing the game is forcing him to do post-battle trash pickup. Doing manual labor totally ruins his dark, brooding aesthetic, but quest rewards are quest rewards. He decides to cross his arms and lean dramatic style against a tree trunk in the shadow of the woods. He watches the progress bar fill up automatically, while the NPC mercenaries handle all the stretcher duty. Two mercenaries carrying a corpse glance over at him, muttering bitterly about how he is just standing there looking smug after pulling off a solo hero act. Our guy catches every single word of their trash talk and smiles under his eye patch. He giggles internally, absolutely loving the fact that he gets to sit back and slack off while basic NPCs handle all the heavy manual labor for his quest. The mercenaries keep chatting as they work, wondering why demons raided this specific sector and bringing up rumors about western border attacks or barbarian invasions. One of them stops, pointing out that even if they count the mutilated remains, they are missing way too many corpses from the pile. They decide to fall back to the city first and file a formal protest with the local lord to wring out extra compensation for the disaster. Our MC hears missing corpses and instantly connects the gamer dots. Missing bodies mean demon worshippers or dark mages, which naturally sets up the next major story arc. The cleanup quest completion chime echoes: 25 bodies recovered, 30 items retrieved. He steps forward with a long dramatic cape flutter and announces it is time to move. Back inside the Grand Guild Hall, the old guildmaster praises their efforts, while our guy cold shoulders him and demands fair compensation. The old man barks back that he is not broke enough to scam a mercenary out of coin, then tells him to hold on a second. He slams his wooden cane onto the floorboards with a sharp impact. He reveals there is another high-level personal commission he wants to hand directly to him. The guild worker asks what kind of mission it could be, and our MC tells the old man to state his piece. The guildmaster states plainly that it is a demon subjugation in the Northwest Forest. Isrin interrupts, pointing out that Zone was already assigned to another adventurer team, but the old man yells that he has not heard a single word from them since they left. He screams that the Northwest Forest is a vital trade route and that he witnessed our guy's combat skills with his own eyes, so he is reassigning the contract immediately. Our MC internally approves of the grumpy veteran NPC archetype, then accepts the mission in character like a true dark hero. Isrin sighs and agrees to broker it, noting they will still have to pay the cancellation penalty fees for the original squad. The old man fumes over lost money, while our guy stands there looking broodingly cool next to the worried worker. The worker clears his throat and asks if he plans on taking the commission right away. He offers to escort him to a high-end inn so they can settle the contract paperwork overnight. The next morning dawns bright and clear over the trading post. A new system prompt pops up, instructing him to board a horse carriage to reach the location. Our MC sits inside the bumpy wooden carriage, clenching his gauntleted hand in silence. He groans internally because this game engine actually simulates the physical sensation of your legs cramping up after sitting still for hours. He rages violently in his head about a 10-hour carriage ride, screaming about the complete lack of a fast travel feature in this hyper-realistic garbage engine. He glances across the cabin at the little errand boy, who is staring at his heavy armor with wide, idolizing eyes. He tells himself to endure the physical discomfort because a massive gold payout is waiting for him at the finish line. We flash back to early morning, where the guild worker was finalizing the contract terms before departure. Our MC leaned in with a dark, threatening shadow over his eyes and muttered two words: the bounty. The worker revealed the official base bounty was 700,000 gal, sending our MC into an internal frenzy of greed. Wanting to make sure he heard correctly, our MC asked, "And so?" which the worker completely misread as a cold demand for more cash, prompting him to throw in an extra 200,000 gal out of his own pocket. A system prompt suddenly popped up showing negotiation skill procced automatically, despite our guy never putting a single point into it. He stared at the window, wondering if the game engine lets players haggle with NPCs, based purely on dialogue tone without stat checks. The worker panicked under his intense silent stare and bumped the extra bonus up to 300,000 gal, making the final payout a clean 1 million gal. Our MC cried internal tears of absolute joy, wondering if he should start acting like an edgelord in real life to become filthy rich. He flipped his coat dramatically and declared he would roll out instantly without taking a rest day, leaving the worker breathless at his dedication. Back in the present, the carriage rolls smoothly through the sunny countryside roads. He grins like a supervillain internally, planning to invest all his quest gold into virtual real estate once he reaches max level. The small errand boy sitting across from him musters up the courage to ask if he is an adventurer. Our MC rejects the label instantly, thinking his dark character persona would never lower himself to calling himself a simple adventurer. The kid looks down, slightly deflated by the harsh rejection. Our MC instantly freaks out internally, worrying he came off a little too edgy for a child NPC. He softens his voice and asks the boy if he has a question for him. The kid leans forward with sparkling eyes and asks if he has ever seen the ocean before. Feeling a bit fond of the little guy, our MC drops a surprisingly poetic response, describing the ocean as piercingly blue as the boy's eyes, with rolling waves that curl like his hair. The kid gasps in pure wonder as the carriage travels deeper down the peaceful forest road. Suddenly, a violent metallic impact shatters the peaceful quiet, caving in the top of the wooden carriage. A massive spiked mace smashes clean through the roof, right toward our MC's head. It is the red-haired female paladin from the hill, her green eyes burning with holy rage as she screams that she will purge his demonic presence in the name of the Almighty. Our guy walks into the deep crimson shadows of the northwest forest, completely unfazed by the creepy atmosphere. He decides to test out his newly unlocked perception skill. The system window flashes green, activating search to scan the surrounding area for hostile intent. He grins to himself, thinking finding monsters in a giant forest is a walk in the park once you have a tracking skill. Suddenly, a bright red threat notification pops up directly in front of his nose. Before he can even process it, the red-haired paladin leaps down from the canopy, screaming about traitors who betray God. She dives from above, swinging her holy mace with enough force to split a boulder. Sparks fly through the dark woods as her weapon descends. Our MC turns his head just in time to catch the reflection of holy light. He draws his steel longsword in a fraction of a second. Steel meets heavy mace, and the sheer shockwave vibrates all the way down his spine. The weight of her blow pushes him back, his sword durability taking a massive hit on impact. He slides across the dirt, looking at her silver armor and asking if she belongs to the Holy Order. She glared down at him, confirming she came here specifically to strike him down. Our guy just stands there looking completely confused. He points out that the Holy Order is supposed to be about charity and mercy, not jumping random travelers, which triggers her into screaming about mere demons. The words echo through his head as he stands in complete silence. He points a finger at his own chest, wondering who on earth she is calling a demon. He realizes no quest prompt appeared, meaning this is not a scripted story event. He checks his inventory for cursed gear, then remembers his gauntlet is literally housing a parasitic demon. The tiny dark demon waves at him from his shoulder, and it finally clicks in his brain. Instead of explaining the misunderstanding, his Chunabu instincts take complete control. He looks down at his gauntlet, remembering the lore backstory he wrote for his character. He decides this is the absolute best time to roleplay the angst of a tragic hero struggling against his inner darkness. He raises his blade to his face, dramatically yelling at her not to call him a demon. The paladin gets even angrier, calling him a fallen turncoat playing knight. She leaps into the air, bringing her holy mace down with blinding speed. Our MC dodges backward into the trees, noting to himself that he was never formally knighted anyway, which means he has zero obligation to fight fair. He channels dark purple mana into his blade and activates Breaker, sending a massive downward wave straight at her. The dark shockwave slams into her giant kite shield, tearing up the ground beneath her boots. He walks out of the smoke and insults her, saying cowering behind a shield makes her look like a baby turtle. She ignores the taunt and begins chanting, a glowing holy magic circle forming around her mace. A blinding flash of divine light erupts across the entire clearing. Our MC shields his eyes with his gauntlet, complaining about the flashbang effect. He realizes she just cast a full body attack and defense buff, getting genuinely jealous of her high-tier skill tree. She steps forward, her mace radiating intense holy pressure. She starts spreading a wave of purification light across the area to burn out his dark energy. He decides to rely on his speed advantage, channeling dark mana to unleash a rapid barrage of slashes. Blade strikes bounce off her holy shield in a shower of sparks, failing to break her guard. He grits his teeth as the recoil pushes him back. He realizes piercing through that tower shield directly is mathematically impossible. She taunts him to step forward and face divine judgment. Our MC smiles under his eye patch. He dashes straight at her shield at top speed. Instead of striking, he plants his boot directly on top of her shield rim and uses it as a springboard. He launches high into the night sky above her, taking advantage of how heavy and slow her armor makes her movements. He flips midair, eyes glowing crimson as he drops down from her blind spot. He plunges his blade straight down, dark red shockwaves detonating on impact. The sheer weight of the drop forces her down onto one knee. Before she can recover, our MC spins behind her back with terrifying agility. He flexes the Demon Knight's absurd attack speed, raising his sword for an executioner strike. He chants his fire skill line, enveloping his blade in roaring flames. Suddenly, a massive wall of blue magical energy materializes between them, snuffing out his fire instantly. A white-furred lion beastman in extravagant archmage robes steps out of the forest, holding a glowing crystal staff. The paladin brightens up, calling out to her ally, the archmage. Our MC stops dead in his tracks, repeating those two class titles in his head. He opens his system tree and checks the class advancement hierarchy. Inquisitor is the third class advancement for priests, and Archmage is the third class advancement for mages, meaning he is currently facing a max tier endgame heal tank and ranged DPS combo, while he is a level 1 who literally just finished the tutorial. He stands there, staring at both of them, completely flabbergasted. Sweat rolls down the back of his head as he questions if the developers are seriously throwing endgame bosses at a beginner. He compares his chances to throwing a tiny egg at a whole mountain. He panics internally about how much it is going to hurt getting beaten to death without a pain toggle option. Then he realizes pain is not even the worst part. Dying means facing stat loss and death penalties. He stares at his sword, wondering if the game is literally forcing him to die here. Then a coping lightbulb goes off in his brain. What if death is just part of the tutorial system? He convinces himself that dying will unlock all the fast travel and map features he has been missing. With his fear completely gone, he resolves to go out on his own terms. He points his sword at the lion beastman, delivering a top-tier edgelord monologue, mocking him for hanging around with fanatics. The paladin screams at him for disrespecting the archmage. Suddenly, a bright red system warning flashes across his vision. He glances sideways as a suffocating aura fills the forest air. A colossal shadowy serpent formed by hundreds of slithering snakes emerges from the dark trees behind him. The archmage gasps in shock, recognizing the demon boss Medusa. The paladin turns on our guy, accusing him of summoning his demon ally to trap them. Our MC gives her a cold side-eye, telling her he will tear her mouth open right after he minces the snake into pieces. The massive serpent looms over the clearing, yellow eyes glowing with venomous intent. A system lore box pops up, explaining that Medusa is made of hundreds of snakes clustered around a single red core snake. Our guy grins like a maniac, realizing the devs are not psychopaths, and this monster was the actual quest target all along. He turns toward the giant beast, screaming that he will grant it death. He dashes straight past the two high-level NPCs, leaving them stunned in his wake. The archmage watches his movement closely, a bead of sweat running down his fur. Our MC remembers that in the original game, players had to strike randomly until they found the red snake. But with his fast-paced gamer mindset, he refuses to waste time on tedious RNG guessing games. He reasons that in a hyper-realistic engine, the core snake must be located exactly where a serpent's physical heart should be. He leaps straight into the mass of writhing serpents, letting them coil around his arms and shoulders. He drives his gaze deep into the body, searching for the core pulse. Right at the chest area, he spots the bright red snake slithering inside the black mass. Instead of swinging his sword in a cramped space, he lets go of his hilt mid-air. He thrusts his heavy gauntleted hand straight through the serpent scales. His clawed fingers clamp down firmly around the red core snake's neck. He crushes the core snake in his fist, causing the entire Medusa mass to dissolve into black mist. He lands smoothly on the ground, stepping heavily on the dead snake tail. He crushes the remains under his boot, blood dripping down his face and coat. He glances back over his shoulder, looking like an absolute demon hunter concept art. He leaves bloodied footprints on the stone path as he walks back toward the two NPCs. The paladin and archmage stand frozen, completely speechless. He drags his blood-covered steel sword along the ground, sparks flying off the blade. He commends them for having enough situational awareness not to jump into his fight. He glares at the paladin, asking if he should rip her mouth open as a reward for her constant insults. The archmage steps in front of the paladin, raising his hands and offering a formal apology for the attack. The paladin panics, asking why the archmage is apologizing to a demon contractor. She yells that he clearly used demonic power during the fight. The archmage calmly explains that our guy is not a contractor, a concept only mentioned in theoretical academy texts. Our MC sits back internally, enjoying the fact that he is getting a direct lore drop about himself from a third-person perspective. The archmage explains that normally, a human host consumed by a demon turns into a brainless zombie, but this young man suppressed the demon through sheer mental willpower, taking total control of its power. The paladin stammers that controlling a demon through pure human willpower without divine power is impossible. The archmage closes his eyes, stating that nothing is impossible in this world. He points to our MC, asking what else they could possibly call the living proof standing right before their eyes. Our guy steps forward and hits them with a cold glare, asking if they are done talking about him like he is not standing right here. He acts outraged about being called a zombie, while internally enjoying every second of this top-tier NPC banter. The archmage bows his head, offering to grant whatever desire he has within his power to make amends. Our MC stays fully in character, asking if they would cut off their own tongues if he demanded it. He tells them that if they cannot even do that much, they can shove their pathetic apology. He adds that while he would love to hang their jaws at the village entrance, doing so would make him no different from a demon beast. He turns his back on them with a single line, "Get lost." Internally, he is practically bouncing off the walls with joy over how cool his dialogue sounded. He starts walking away, then stops cold as he remembers he forgot the most important gamer rule: always loot the corpse. He crouches down and picks up the severed red snake tail from the mud. The paladin suddenly calls out to him from behind, making him think she is about to fight him over monster drops. She steps forward, yelling that she wants him to hear her out as well. Our guy turns around with a sharp glare, wondering if a new quest prompt is about to trigger. The red-haired paladin lowers her weapon, her face completely pale. She looks directly at our guy and apologizes for jumping him without hearing his side. Our MC stands there baffled, expecting an elite teenage NPC to double down just to protect her ego. Seeing her apologize so earnestly actually makes him feel a little guilty for treating her like a basic bot. She offers to pay whatever financial compensation he wants for the trouble. He checks his internal quest logic, wondering if this is a companion recruitment event. He decides a companion ruins his lone wolf edgelord concept, so he hits her with a cold line about not needing her hypocrisy. The archmage steps in and tells the inquisitor to calm down. He points out that the forest purification is complete and they need to report back immediately. She slumps her shoulders and accepts it. They turn around and start walking into the dark woods. Our guy starts walking back toward town as well. Footsteps echo through the trees. The lion beastman glances back. Our guy looks over his shoulder and catches them right behind him. They are literally matching his pace step for step. He opens his minimap window, verifying he is taking a direct straight line back to town. Behind him, the paladin chats casually with the archmage about her failed hunt. Our guy stops, turns around, and asks if his previous warning meant nothing to them. The archmage raises his hands in peace. He casts a small green spell circle, explaining they are just following a standard navigation route that happens to point the exact same way. Our guy realizes they were not tailing him, they were just using their own GPS. Suffering from extreme secondhand embarrassment, he turns away instantly to walk faster. The paladin calls out, warning him that the forest is dangerous at night. He drops another edgelord line, telling her not to force her weak standards onto him. She watches him disappear into the dark, looking genuinely concerned. She asks the archmage if it is really okay to let a man that dangerous wander off alone. She worries that if he ever loses control to the demon, the fallout will be catastrophic. The archmage sighs, admitting hope and reality rarely align in this line of work. He reveals he quietly placed a tracking spell on our guy so they can monitor him from a distance. He offers a silent prayer as the night settles over the trees. Moonlight hits the forest canopy. The scene shifts to the quiet, dark streets of Tatara. A lone shadow approaches the Guildhall doors. Isrin is sweeping the floor when the front door swings open. She turns around and gasps in pure horror. Our guy stands in the doorway covered head to toe in dried blood, red eye glaring through the dark. He thrusts a bloody canvas sack forward and tells her to verify it. Isrin stammers, dropping her broom and rushing to the counter. She unties the knot, pulling out a severed red snake carcass. Her eyes go wide as she recognizes the high-tier monster threat. She screams in disbelief that he cleared a Northwest Forest demon boss in under 2 days. While she panics, our guy is internally weeping about the absolute nightmare he just survived. He remembers walking away from those 2 high-level NPCs with such cool confidence. He thought the game would surely spawn a shortcut or fast travel carriage for him. Instead, morning turned to noon, afternoon turned to sunset, and sunset turned to night. He literally spent 24 real-time hours straight playing a medieval walking simulator. He could not even rest, because the forest bugs were coated with disgusting hyper-realism. He almost cried tears of joy when the Tatara Zone notification finally popped up. Isrin ties the bag back up, confirming this is indeed the Medusa carcass. She promises to process his 1 million gal payout first thing at sunrise, while the quest cleared window chimes. Noticing his pale face, she offers to send him to a premium local inn to rest. She calls out to the guild errand boy, telling him to escort their guest to the White Wind Inn. The boy runs out enthusiastically, leading the way through the night streets. As they walk, the kid excitedly asks what kind of crazy demon he caught this time. Our guy drops his stern in-character tone, stating that demons are not something to discuss for entertainment. The kid shrinks back in fear, making our guy instantly regret being an edgelord to an innocent NPC. He finally reaches the inn room and collapses face first onto the bed. His red system meter flashes a bright red warning, fatigue 100%. A sleep timer UI pops up above his head, letting him set a rest duration. He taps 6 hours, deciding he will figure out whether to quit this miserable game after he wakes up. The stars shift across the night sky. Moonlight streams through the quiet inn window. Suddenly, Footsteps creep across the wooden floorboards inside his room. A shadowy figure looms over his sleeping body on the bed. A man raises a heavy spiked mace with both hands and swings it straight down at his head. The proximity alarm blares in red light as our guy snaps his eye open. He draws his long sword from the bed frame, blocking the heavy spiked mace right above his face. He kicks the intruder squarely in the chest, sending him crashing into the wall. The attacker gasps on the floor, stunned by the sheer physical power of a sleeping man. Our guy rolls off the bed and sweeps his sword, stopping the tip an inch from the man's throat. The guy drops his mace, crying and begging for mercy, claiming he only wanted his coin pouch. Our guy delivers a standard police line, telling him to drop his weapons and put his hands up. The spiked mace clatters uselessly against the floorboards. The thief whimpers, raising his hands while our guy mocks him for trying to smash heads for spare change. The thief suddenly pulls a hidden dagger from his belt and lunges forward with a desperate scream. Our MC doesn't even blink. He sidesteps the lunge effortlessly. He slams the heavy hilt of his longsword directly into the back of the thief's head. The burglar hits the floor out cold, with a massive bump swelling on his skull. Exhausted beyond belief, our guy grabs the unconscious man by his collar. He kicks his room door wide open and drags the body out into the hallway. He hauls the thief down the stairs into the main lobby area. The innkeeper lady behind the desk looks up and gasps in absolute horror. Standing there covered in blood while dragging a body, our guy tells her to call someone so he can go back to sleep. The lady lets out a blood-curdling scream that echoes through the entire building. She screams murder, making our guy sigh as his proximity radar flashes bright red again. The front doors burst inward as the red-haired paladin kicks her way inside. She sees him holding the body and screams that he is a murderous monster. She swings her heavy holy mace straight for his head without asking a single question. Our MC catches the blow on his blade, complaining internally about this walking headache of an NPC. She glares at him through the dust clouds, her eyes burning with righteous fury. She locks her stance, preparing to go all out inside the wooden inn lobby. Our guy realizes this paladin is hitting every single one of his character's rage triggers. His custom backstory setup includes specific phrases that make the demon knight snap, and this girl is mashing every single trigger button like an arcade stick. She points her holy symbol at him, calling him a filthy demon stealing human flesh. Divine mana swirls around her boots. Our guy drops his tone into deep edgelord mode, telling her she is rushing straight to her grave. He channels dark purple energy along his steel longsword. He leaps forward to strike, shouting his skill name. Glowing blue magical chains materialize out of thin air, binding his arms and torso completely. He stops mid-air, recognizing a high-level mage crowd control skill. The lion archmage steps into the lobby, yelling for the paladin to stop fighting. Our MC decides to flex his dark aura for roleplay purposes, straining against the magic chains. The paladin asks why the archmage is stopping her, while dark purple flames erupt from our guy's sword. With a deafening shatter, our MC flexes his dark mana and completely breaks the third-class binding spell. The shockwave sends black lightning tearing across the room. The dark mana blast detonates against the far wall, blowing apart wooden tables and chairs. The innkeeper lady hides behind her desk, hiccuping in sheer terror. The archmage stares at his broken spell in total disbelief. Dark energy sizzles around our guy's blade as he lowers his stance. Smoke clears, revealing the massive destruction inside the small inn lobby. The paladin stammers, asking how anyone could break an archmage's binding spell so easily. Our guy stands there with a stone-cold expression. Internally, he is just as confused as they are. He remembers binding was an overpowered skill in the original game that every player begged the devs to nerf. The archmage clears his throat and tells both of them to calm down before someone actually dies. He yells at the paladin, asking if her blind rage has completely destroyed her vision. He points toward the floor and tells her to look closely at the corpse. The burglar on the floor suddenly groans, clutching his head and crawling away on his elbows. The paladin freezes, her face turning bright red as she realizes the man is alive. She looks back at our guy with wide, embarrassed eyes. Our guy stands in dark silence, while internally laughing his head off at her absolute defeat. The archmage sighs and asks our guy to explain what actually happened. Other inn guests peek down from the second-floor balcony, watching the chaos unfold. Our guy steps on the thief's back and commands him to confess his crime out loud. He glares down at him, and the thief instantly breaks, screaming that he was just trying to steal his money. The thief admits he saw our guy hand a fat tip to the guild errand boy earlier and targeted him. The paladin looks down in utter shame, while our guy celebrates the complete resolution of the misunderstanding. He tells them to mind their own business and turns around to walk out of the ruined inn. He steps out into the morning sunlight, glad that his inventory saved him from packing bags. As he walks down the street, he realizes something weird about the paladin and archmage. The paladin runs up behind him, yelling for him to wait. Our guy stops and slowly turns his head to look at her in full daylight. Her red hair and green eyes catch the morning sun directly in front of him. His eye widens in realization as he stares at her face. Wait, what? The red-haired paladin stands under the morning sunlight. Our guy squints his eye, taking a closer look at her face. Bright red hair styled in the classic side braid death flag hairstyle. Dazzling green eyes and silver holy armor. He realizes she is literally the official priest class character featured on the game cover art. The lion beastman steps up right beside her. He looks at the white fur and ornate robes. This is a Shagi Archmage, the canon representation of the mage class. He remembers that in the original single-player game, other class characters never appeared as companion NPCs. He wonders if the VR remake added mandatory party-building mechanics. He hates party play because having teammates completely ruins his solo Dark Knight aesthetic. Wanting to test the NPC AI limits, he drops a cold line telling her to shut up. The paladin stammers, trying to apologize for her previous rudeness. She tightens her fists, her face flushing red with extreme shame. She drops straight onto her knees, slamming her hands against the cobblestones. She screams that if an apology is not enough, he can take her head right here. Our MC stands there completely frozen. Shadows fall over the silent street. He panics internally, wondering why her way of thinking is so extreme. He just likes playing solo. He is not trying to run a medieval execution channel. He looks over at the lion archmage, blaming him for raising such an unhinged paladin. The archmage looks equally stressed out, sweating under his fur. Our guy realizes that if he rejects her apology now, he will break his dark character persona. The archmage glares back at him nervously. He wipes sweat from his brow, preparing to intervene. The archmage steps in front of the kneeling paladin. He begs our guy to show her mercy, explaining she just left the temple and lacks real-world experience. He offers his own life instead, asking to be punished in her place. The paladin screams in protest, saying it was her mistake. They start arguing over who gets executed first, right in front of him. Our guy realizes his dialogue options failed completely. He decides to roll with the drama and handle it in character. He reaches for his sheath, stating he gave them a chance. His steel blade slides out with a sharp metallic hiss. He steps forward, raising his longsword above the kneeling paladin. The steel splits the air in a single, lightning-fast arc. The archmage squeezes his eyes shut, unable to watch. The paladin braces herself for impact, holding her mace tightly. Our MC lowers his blade, stepping back in complete silence. A thick red braid of hair drops onto the stone floor, and the paladin gasps as her hair falls into a short bob. She touches her newly shortened hair in utter shock. Our guy turns his back and walks away smoothly. Internally, he celebrates his genius move, saving her life while fixing her anime death flag hairstyle. He remembers his character's backstory sister had the exact same mace-wielding setup. The archmage gasps, asking if he is really just walking away. Our MC tells her to look at her hair and watch her mouth next time. He warns that the next time his blade swings, it will take her head. The paladin stammers his title, completely overwhelmed. Our guy grins internally, loving how god-tier the NPC reactions are. He skips down the road mentally, eager to see what quest event they bring him next. The paladin kneels on the stones, clutching her severed braid. She asks the archmage if our guy's body was really consumed by a demon. The archmage confirms it with a solemn nod. She clenches her fist, realizing how much suffering he must have endured to master that dark power. The archmage explains that stepping away despite having the power to kill was true mercy. He commends his absurd strength of mind. A dark, shadowy entity looms over our guy's outline in her imagination. She whispers that it takes immense strength of heart to control a demon. She lowers her head, admitting she still has a long way to go. The archmage smiles softly, telling her experience takes time. Suddenly, she leaps up screaming that they absolutely need him on their journey. Her green eyes burn with starry-eyed admiration. The archmage freezes with a blank expression. His lion face goes completely numb. He looks up at the sky, wondering what he did to deserve this. A blue system box flashes. 2 days remaining on full dive mode. Morning sun shines bright over another local tavern. The scene shifts to the dining hall of a high-end inn. Patrons laugh and eat hearty meals at wooden tables. A fork stabs violently into a juicy steak. Our MC chews his breakfast in peaceful bliss. Suddenly, 2 figures approach his table, stopping right in front of his plate. It is the short-haired paladin and the archmage. Our MC glares up, asking if his eye is playing tricks on him or if their ear canals are clogged. The archmage bows his head, asking for just a moment to explain. Our guy stands up, stating their presence alone is an inconvenience. He drops a cold side-eye, telling them to scram. The paladin takes a deep breath, her face turning bright red. She bows 90 degrees, screaming that she came to learn from his magnanimity. Steam erupts from her ears in sheer embarrassment. Our guy tilts his head in total confusion. He wonders if the game engine glitched because he kept rejecting main story prompts. She recites her temple teachings, admitting she failed to follow them until she met him. She praises him for granting her forgiveness repeatedly despite her insults. She looks up with angel wings floating behind her, declaring he showed her the true path. She apologizes for her past disrespect with absolute sincerity. Our guy's internal train crashes into a wall of pure otaku joy. He realizes she hits every single entry on his favorite character checklist: honest, clumsy, awkward, and righteous. He wants to pat her head so badly, internally squealing over how cute she is. He bites his lip, straining with everything he has not to break character. She looks up nervously, asking if she offended him again. Her earnest reaction deals critical damage to his otaku heart. He forces his face into a dark scowl, telling her she made a brave attempt to ruin his mood. He comments that watching someone attempt social suicide like this is refreshing. He reaches for his sword hilt, stating the only thing he shares with people is his blade. The Archmage shouts loudly, asking if he will still draw his sword if it means killing Satan, the king of demons. Our MC's single eye widens in shock. He freezes mid-draw, asking what he means by Satan. The room goes dead silent as both NPCs gulp nervously. They look at his sudden dark intensity. They assume his single eye is radiating pure, murderous hatred for all demonkind. They believe that if they lie to him now, he will tear them apart on the spot. The paladin clenches her fist without hesitation. Her green eyes burn with unwavering resolve. She decides to tell him the complete truth, believing her life exists for the greater good. Our guy is actually losing his mind with excitement internally, thrilled that main quest lore about Satan is finally dropping. He celebrates the god-tier story progression. The Archmage explains the true role of an Inquisitor as a divine executor. Flashback graphics display the high-tier priest class advancement. The Archmage reveals the reason she left the temple so young. It was all because she received a direct revelation from God. The Paladin explains she was chosen to vanquish Satan himself. However, the divine message warned she lacked the strength to do it alone and must gather allies. So she teamed up with the Archmage to find warriors who would stand with her. And that is why she came back to recruit him, despite his cold rejections. The Paladin suddenly glares at the Archmage, asking if he lied about it being easy. Our guy grins internally, finding her dumpling-like reactions adorable. He questions why the main revelation quest was handed to an NPC instead of the player. He realizes the VR remake shifted the entire main storyline to center around protecting the priest hero. The Archmage raises his hands, making a formal plea. He asks if our guy will join them in the subjugation of Satan. A massive golden system UI erupts in midair, the main quest. The Archmage notes that his mercenary reputation says he never backs down from killing demons. He points out that if Satan dies, all demonic invasions across the land will cease. Our guy stares at the glowing quest window, realizing this naive paladin is the actual chosen protagonist of this world. The paladin offers to accompany him to any temple so priests can vouch for her identity. His longsword rests against the wooden floorboards. Our guy looks at the golden quest prompt hanging in the air, pondering his next move. Our guy is staring down the room with the intensity of an edgelord who just spent 30 minutes in character creation. He drops a line about how their words better be the absolute truth, because if they waste his time, things are going to get uncomfortable fast. And right on cue, the system window pops up to confirm that the short-haired paladin and the lion sage are officially in his party. The main quest updates right in front of his eyes. Step 1. Join the subjugation force. Step 2. Talk to the Archmage. Just like that, they leave the Tatara trading post behind and head out on the road. The local guild workers watch the carriage roll out, probably relieved that the guy who talks in ominous threat language is finally someone else's problem. A few minor NPCs try to offer side rewards on the way out, triggering little event flags that most players would jump at. Our guy completely ignores them. He has a main quest to track, and more importantly, he has a character concept to maintain. Except there is one small issue making his skin crawl right now. He glances sideways and notices the paladin staring at him with wide, sparkling puppy eyes. She has been locking eyes with him like this ever since they got into the carriage, and it is making him deeply uncomfortable. He starts running through the math in his head. All he did to this girl was trash talk her, insult her holy order, and chop her hair off with a greatsword. By all standard RPG logic, her affinity stat with him should be sitting somewhere near maximum hatred. A system companion window opens up to explain that companion NPCs can track locations, take commands, and alter their behavior based on affinity, but the actual numerical value is strictly hidden. He remembers specifically telling them not to treat him like an ally, delivering what he thought was a brutal, cold-hearted rejection. So why is she sitting across from him looking like she just met her absolute idol? Then he looks at her new short haircut again, and his internal edgelord persona completely melts. Look at her. She looks like a tiny round kimchi dumpling sitting on a steam basket. She is sitting there so straight, so earnest, holding that massive mace while staring at him with absolute reverence. He is trying so hard to keep a straight face, but internally, he feels like a proud dad watching his kid's first school play. The Archmage breaks the silence, clearing his throat to address him directly. He asks if our guy has any questions about the divine revelation, or where they are actually heading. Our guy's actual internal response is that they are literally just video game NPCs, so why would he care about their backstory dialogue until the quest marker updates? But because his mouth only speaks Chunibyu, what comes out instead is a threat about tearing them apart if the revelation turns out to be fake. He leans back, telling them that if they have any sanity left, they will give him the basic briefing before they arrive. The Archmage just smiles warmly, taking the death threat as proof of deep, unspoken trust. Because of course he does. In this world, the meaner our guy acts, the more noble everyone thinks he is. The Archmage explains that before they handle the main Demon King business, they have a minor stop to make at a regional temple. The Paladin chimes in, explaining that as servants of God, it is their sacred duty to help anyone in misery until our guy cuts her off mid-sentence. He tells her he does not care about her holy speech. He wants numbers, monster types, and target locations. When she admits they only received a vague report and need to ask the local bishop for details, our guy straight up calls them incompetent. A new quest window flashes in his view. He sighs internally. It is just a minor side quest, but progress is progress. Then he remembers the most terrifying stat in his entire life, his real-world full-dive capsule subscription. He only has a day and a half of paid VR time left. Sitting in a slow-moving carriage is literally burning his actual real-life money by the minute. Since he cannot force the horses to move any faster, he decides the best tactical play is to hit the sleep UI and knock out. The paladin watches him drift off with that same soft, worshipful smile. And to understand why she is looking at him like he walked on water, we have to look at what happened the night before they left. The Archmage had knocked on her room door late at night to talk strategy. He came in with a dead serious face to deliver a reality check. He asked her if she truly understood what she was doing when she offered her neck to our guy's blade. He reminded her of the weight of the hero's mission, telling her how dangerous it was to make reckless promises to a dark knight. The paladin admitted she acted on impulse, but then she looked up at him with total conviction. She quoted the Holy Scripture, the 9th commandment, about how justice wielded without caution is just justified violence. The Archmage fell silent as she continued. She told him that if our guy had not stopped his blade, she would have died a hypocrite who nearly murdered an innocent man out of blind fanaticism. By sparing her life and cutting her braid instead, our guy did not just show mercy, he gave her enlightenment. She genuinely believes that slicing her hair was a wholly symbolic gesture to reset her path as the hero. She looks at the morning light coming through the window, completely convinced that our guy is not a demon at all. She thinks he is an apostle of God sent to keep her righteous. Back in the present, she clasps her hands together and silently prays for God to give her dark mentor a peaceful nap. The carriage continues down the long forest road under a bright blue sky. It keeps rolling through the evening, through the night, and through the next day. By the time our guy wakes up and opens his eyes, the dark shadows under his face look like he is ready to commit a felony. It took 3 entire in-game days to reach the destination. 3 days. Internally, he is screaming at the developers. His expensive dive solution is draining away while his character sits in a wooden box. He snaps into absolute speedrunner mode. He has 0 time left for roleplay breaks. He is clearing this dungeon before his capsule kicks him out. The moment the carriage stops at the village, the paladin gets hyper-fired up, ready to head to the temple. Before she can even finish her sentence, our guy is already 50 yards down the street, power walking toward the objective. She has to sprint full speed just to keep up with his aggressive pacing. The Lion Archmage slows down, breathing heavily, as he tries to match the sudden speedrun pace. He stops in the middle of the stone path, looking up at the sky. A heavy, unnatural chill settles over the air as a flock of dark crows circles above the rooftops. The temple towers over the village in the moonlight, cold and completely silent. Our guy pushes open the heavy front gates without waiting for anyone, and the Archmage's bad feeling becomes reality in about 2 seconds flat. The moment our guy steps into the courtyard, a squad of local paladins draws their swords and spears, yelling that a demon has entered the sanctuary. The local guards glance at the dark gauntlet on our guy's hand, sweating as they recognize the demonic signature. Before anyone can swing, the short-haired paladin steps right between them, yelling at the top of her lungs that our guy is an innocent victim, not a monster. The guards start whispering among themselves, confused by why the chosen hero is defending someone radiating dark energy. The Archmage steps forward, lifting his massive crystal staff into the air. He slams the base of the staff onto the stone floor, sending a ripple of magic through the entire courtyard. He tells everyone to shut their mouths and lower their weapons immediately. He reminds them that when God's proxy speaks, lower-ranking paladins do not get to argue. The guards look at each other, completely outmatched by a third-class Archmage. They sheath their swords and lower their spears, stepping back to clear a path. The paladin turns to our guy, nervously offering to lead him inside to safety. The Archmage asks our guy to forgive the guard's rudeness, to which our guy calmly replies that if they actually meant harm, they would already be dead. Internally, our guy is having the absolute time of his life. He loves misunderstanding events where high-level NPCs step in to handle the dialogue for him. He keeps his cold coat trailing behind him as he strides toward the main hall. Seeing how nervous the Holy Order is around him makes his internal gamer brain giggling with pure satisfaction. He steps through the massive wooden doors into the interior of the temple. His plan is simple: get the quest information from the head priest, skip the dialogue cuts, and get out before his fatigue bar climbs. They are led into a grand dining room, lit by tall candles and high stained glass windows. The local bishop sits at the head of a long table, surrounded by his senior priests. The bishop smiles warmly, telling them they have heard enough details for tonight and should go rest in their prepared rooms. He adds that if the dining hall feels uncomfortable, they can just have their meals brought straight to their beds. Our guy reads the subtext instantly. This guy is not being hospitable. He is politely telling them to lock themselves in their rooms and stay out of temple business. Our guy stands up straight. His roleplay fever might be fading, but his hatred for slow pacing is at an all-time high. He looks the bishop dead in the eyes and drops a blunt refusal. He tells the bishop he would rather sleep in the dirt outside than stay in a room built by hypocrites. A golden UI panel flashes in front of his face. He turns around on his heel to walk out, leaving the priests in absolute shock. The paladin panics, running after him to ask what he is doing. She reaches out and grabs his armored arm to hold him back, and our guy instantly slaps her hand away with a burst of dark aura. He looks down at her with a glare cold enough to freeze water, telling her never to touch him again. She pulls her hand back, terrified that she accidentally crossed a line with her holy mentor. The archmage steps up, asking him where he is going in the middle of the night. Our guy gives them the classic edgy side-eye. He tells them he is going to hunt the demon right now. What he actually means is, if I wait for you guys to finish your dialogue scenes, my paid subscription runs out. I am speedrunning this. The paladin watches him walk into the dark corridor, her eyes widening with respect. The archmage looks at her, a subtle grin forming on his lion face. He tells her that this dark knight's absolute refusal to rest while evil exists puts their own piety to shame. He orders the paladin to arm herself so they can follow him into the night. The bishop calls out after them, sweating profusely as his polite facade completely falls apart. The archmage turns his head back one last time, thanking the bishop for his offer, but reminding him that true heroes do not sleep when there is work to be done. The bishop is left standing alone in the grand hall, looking like a man whose entire secret operation just got speedrun by a lunatic. Outside, a solitary crow sits on the window frame, watching the party leave. It takes off into the night sky, flying over the silent roofs of the village. The moonlight cuts through the clouds as the party gathers on the stone streets below. Our guy looks back and sighs internally. The team is sticking to him like glue, no matter how mean he acts. The archmage suggests finding local witnesses to gather intelligence, but our guy cuts him off instantly. He assumes the old lion already knows what monster they are fighting, and is just testing his game knowledge. The paladin leans in, asking for his expert opinion with total sincerity. She looks up at him with those massive, round, sparkling dumpling eyes again. Our guy feels a proud dad's smile trying to break through his face, forcing himself to bite his cheek. He throws out an insult about how she barely acts like a hero, testing if she will lose her composure. She holds her ground, telling him she accepts her flaws, but will not tolerate disrespect toward her divine calling. Our guy nods internally. She is stubborn, earnest, and completely dedicated, exactly the kind of character he loves. He drops the actual monster ID. It is a Draugr. The paladin's eyes light up as the pieces click into place. Draugr are undead born in graveyards that carry a terrible rot stench. She praises our guy's deep knowledge, looking at him with even more adoration. Our guy has to physically clench his fist and think dark, terrible thoughts just to keep from smiling like an idiot. He remembers the lore from the original game. The Draugr incident in this village was actually a cover-up for temple corruption and demon worshippers. He wonders how the remake's engine is going to handle the quest payoff as they move deeper into the dark alleyways. The paladin stops walking, her nose twitching in the damp night air. She alerts the party that she smells something foul coming from the inner district. They slip between the narrow wooden houses, following the narrow shadow paths of the back alley. Our guy reaches into his system inventory and pulls out a glowing magic lantern. He lifts the light high into the darkness, illuminating the far stone wall. Sitting on the cold dirt ground is a man, ghastly thin, covered in dark, bulging veins, with hollow eyes staring into nothing. The paladin gasps in horror, taking a sharp step back as she recognizes the signs of dark corruption. And right here, under the pale lantern light, the narrative marks the exact moment where the side quest stopped being a game and everything began to go horribly wrong. Our guy holds the lantern over the wall, illuminating the dark corner of the alley. Sitting on the stone floor is an emaciated man with sunken eyes and gray, rotting skin. The paladin gasps, clutching her chest in horror at the sight of a fully corrupted victim. The archmage immediately turns back, saying she will notify the temple guards to handle the body. Our guy steps closer, complaining internally about how realistic the engine smell mechanics are in this remake. He drops down onto one knee, right beside the fallen civilian. He sets the lantern on the ground, his face completely shadowed under his split hair. He delivers an edgy line straight out of an anti-hero anime, telling the dead guy to leave the revenge to him. He gently reaches out and closes the man's eyes, telling him to rest in peace. The paladin clasps her hands together, softly offering a holy prayer for the victim's soul. She stands right behind him in the warm lantern glow, completely moved by his unexpected gentleness. Our guy does not actually care about the religion, but internally, he gives the game developers 10 out of 10 for cinematic directing. The archmage returns to the alleyway, bringing up her massive crystal staff. She notes that the stench is fresh, meaning the Draugr must still be somewhere close. She begins chanting, launching a glowing blue magic circle into the air that illuminates the entire alleyway. A high-tier tracking spell activates, highlighting the faint mana trail left behind by the demon. She warns them the spell won't last long, immediately sprinting down the lane after the blue light. She tells the paladin to keep up, taking the lead like a true veteran caster. The paladin holds out her hand as she runs, casting a continuous holy light to purify the lingering stench along their path. Our guy follows close behind, realizing that having a holy party member means he won't get lost on the way back. He admits internally that while soloing fits his edgy aesthetic better, having party members handle the utility spells is ridiculously convenient. He keeps his eye on the blue mana trail as it cuts through the village streets. Suddenly, his boots slide to a sharp halt on the cobblestones. The paladin stops right beside him, gasping as she looks at what is in front of them. The blue tracking light runs straight into a massive stone wall at the end of the alley. Dead end. The archmage looks up at the bricks, realizing the Draugr used its phantom ability to phase right through the wall. She suggests taking the long way around to get to higher ground and locate another path. Our guy looks up at the roofline, his brain instantly calculating a completely different solution. He decides to test how far the game's physics engine will let him push basic movement. Without saying a single word, he launches himself straight off the ground. He kicks off the side wall, bouncing between the wooden beams with vertical mobility that shouldn't belong to a level 1 character. He flips through the air, grabbing the stone ledge of the roof with his gauntlet. He swings his legs over, pulling himself onto the rooftop in one smooth, continuous motion. He plants his boots on the roof tiles, looking down at the alleyway below. He sticks a superhero landing, his black coat fluttering in the night wind. He drops into a low crouch, checking his balance on the steep incline. Down in the street, the paladin looks up at him with wide, starry eyes, completely blown away. The archmage wipes sweat from her forehead, panting as she calls him an absolute reckless menace. They stare up at him standing on the roof like a dark, vigilant night guard. Meanwhile, inside his head, our guy is losing his absolute mind with joy. He didn't even use a skill. The wind resistance, the impact on his boots, the momentum, it all feels so insanely real. He smirks to himself, wondering if he accidentally has a god-tier real-life talent for parkour. He shakes it off, reminding himself to track the demon before the archmage's spell fades out. He looks across the village rooftops, seeing the blue mana trail floating above the tiles. He steps to the edge of the roof, his eye patch glowing under the full moon. He drops another Chunabu line about ending cheap tricks. He launches forward, sprinting across the roof tiles at full speed. He leaps across the gaps between houses, vaulting over chimneys like a ninja. He dives through the air, completely immersing himself in the parkour mechanics. A massive, unhinged grin breaks across his face. He throws his arms out, bursting into pure, unfiltered gamer laughter. He literally shouts in his mind, praising the developers for creating the greatest full-dive RPG in human history. He drops down from the roof, driving his longsword straight into the stone street below with a heavy energy impact. The shockwave shatters the cobblestones, kicking up dust in every direction. He stands up slowly, holding his sword guard near his face. A system box pops up detailing the target, Draugr, a phantom that deceives human eyes to devour them. He turns his head around to check his flank and realizes the alley is completely empty. The party NPCs didn't follow him over the roofs. He sighs, wishing his little kimchi dumpling was here to purify the disgusting stench filling the street. Suddenly, footsteps echo from the dark roof above him. Our guy glances up, his red eye patch narrowing. A hooded figure steps into the moonlight, shrouded in swirling dark mana. The figure opens his arms, cackling wildly about how the king seeks Gretchen. A system box flags him, demon contractor. Our guy's intense combat face instantly degrades into pure, confused potato expression. King? Gretchen? What king? Who is Gretchen? Is this guy having a delusion? The contractor offers to help Gretchen slaughter the heretics and start a festival of blood. Our guy tries to search his brain, but he has literally never heard the name Gretchen in his entire 15 years of playing this game. He rests his gauntlet on his sword hilt, a realization slowly dawning on him. He looks down at the hooded cultist standing on the roof across from him. Did his custom edgelord character build somehow trigger a secret demon worshipper story route? A red system window flashes in his memory, showing the dark lore path of the game. You have made a choice. A power beyond human limits awakens. The lore text describes a dark knight breaking the shackles of humanity to gain unearthly knowledge. Massive demon wings and horns manifest in the system preview image, showing the full evil transformation tree. He recalls the lore box, stating that taking this path turns you into a true demon knight loyal to the dark realm. It shows the ultimate corrupted form, wielding a flaming red sword over a pile of defeated heroes. Our guy snaps back to reality, staring off into space with a completely blank expression. He decides he will definitely try that evil route on his second playthrough, but right now he has a solo anti-hero concept to protect. He draws his longsword from its scabbard with a crisp metallic slide, channeling dark mana through the steel. He swings a massive vertical crescent slash straight at the rooftop. The roof edge shatters into flying debris as dust fills the air. He lowers his sword, checking for a kill mark. The cultist is crouching behind the rubble, whimpering in terror as dark smoke clears around him. He screams apologies, begging Gretchen to forgive him for speaking out of turn. Our guy tilts his head, his dark eyes locking on to the trembling contractor. He delivers a cold, ruthless line, telling the man he won't find forgiveness, even in hell. The contractor panics, desperately waving his hand toward the shadows and screaming for help. A giant phantom in full plate armor steps out of the dark wall, bringing down a massive tower shield between them. The armored Draugr lets out a silent, terrifying screech, its red helmet plume burning like fire. Our guy lunges forward, annoyed that the cultist brought out an annoying tank mob. Steel slams against steel as our guy's longsword crashes directly into the Draugr's heavy shield. The force of the impact sends sparks flying across the alley, but the armored ghost doesn't budge an inch. The Draugr swings its broadsword back, dark shadowy mana swirling around its heavy frame. Our guy grunts, backing off a step. He hates fighting amorphous undead mobs because hitting them feels like swinging at wet sponges. He realizes the contractor is actively channeling buff magic into the Draugr, boosting its defense stats. Taking out the caster first is basic RPG math. Plus, he has a new skill interaction he wants to test out. He channels dark energy through his blade, watching the purple aura wrap around the steel. When he used his skill earlier, he noticed the damage buff stayed active on his weapon even after the initial swing animation finished, which means if he chains a normal attack right after the skill proc, he slashes downward with a full power follow-up. The dark mana beam hits the Draugr's shield, detonating in a massive explosion of red and purple light. The armor buckles under the raw damage multiplier, shattering the ghost's physical form into pieces. The dark energy vaporizes the phantom completely, leaving nothing but smoke behind. A quest box flashes, our guy resting his sword on his shoulder, walking through the settling dust like an absolute menace. He looks down at the contractor, telling the insect that it is time for judgment. The cultist trembles uncontrollably, crying out that he never intended to mess with the Mabel Merchant Guild. Our guy's eyes light up. So these are the bastards behind the forest ambush back in the intro chapters. The contractor suddenly looks past our guy, his terrified expression turning into sheer unhinged excitement. He points behind our guy, screaming that the actual hero has arrived and their head will please the king. The Archmage and the Paladin land right at the entrance of the alleyway, glowing with intense divine magic. Our guy smiles internally. Perfect timing. Now he can let the hero party handle the boring interrogation scenes for him. The Paladin points her spiked mace at the contractor, shouting that he is a sinner who sold his soul to a demon. She releases a blinding wave of holy light, illuminating the entire alleyway with divine pressure. The contractor shields his eyes from the holy burn, staggering back against the stone wall. He screams at our guy in utter despair, asking why Gretchen is betraying her own kind. Our guy stares at him with a deadpan expression, his dark eye completely unbothered. His actual internal response is that he doesn't know who Gretchen is, doesn't care about their cult lore, and just wants to turn in the quest. He drops a dry thumbs-down gesture, casually telling the guy to just die already. He raises his sword high into the air, bringing it down for a execution strike. He yells his edgy line about atoning with death, and his blade comes crashing down with a heavy energy burst. The night sky clears as morning light breaks over the temple towers. A group of temple guards and priests marches down the hallway of the main building. Our guy walks right behind them, his sword safely scathed on his back. The Paladin glances back at him, her green eyes filled with quiet respect. Because as it turns out, the demon contractor actually managed to survive that night. Right before our guy's sword sliced the cultist in half, blue magic chains wrapped around his blade. The Archmage's spell locked our guy's arm in place, holding the execution stroke inches from the contractor's face. Our guy had turned around, glaring at the Lion Sage, and asking if he was trying to get in his way. The Archmage had urged him to calm down, explaining that capturing a contractor alive is 10 times more valuable than killing him. He explained that a Draugr doesn't appear without high-level backing, meaning this cultist has information on the bigger threat behind the scenes. Our guy had internally pouted, realizing that in this remake, you have to drain an NPC's HP without landing the final blow to trigger the capture mechanics. A system box confirmed the rule: attempt capture by depleting HP. If the target dies, capture fails. He appreciated how deep the remake systems were, walking through the grand hallway of the temple. Suddenly, a sharp, piercing alarm sound begins ringing directly in his ears. Red warning windows flood his vision, stacking over each other until his entire field of view turns crimson. A massive system alert blares across his eyes. Warning! HP slightly decreased. Our guy wanted to kick back in the interrogation room and watch the Archmage squeeze info out of the cultist. But the second he stepped deeper into the temple, red warning windows started flashing across his screen like crazy. Turns out bringing a parasitic demon gauntlet into a holy cathedral triggers a continuous holy field debuff that drains your HP. He walks outside, thinking about how brutal the developers made the Demon Knight class route. A smirk breaks across his face as he looks at the blue sky. He loves it. Role-playing a dark anti-hero in a hard mode game is the ultimate flex for veteran gamers. He recalls old MMO raids where players ran absurd custom builds, like high-level healers named after religious figures, just to make the game harder. He steps onto the stone courtyard, wondering if he is really going to travel with these NPCs all the way to the final boss. Now that the party is inside, he suddenly feels a little lonely standing in the empty yard with nothing to do. A quest box flashes in front of him. He decides to go look for a place to grind some experience points, when the short-haired paladin comes sprinting down the steps, yelling for him to wait up. Our guy looks at her like she just spawned out of thin air. He asks her why she isn't inside watching the interrogation. She explains that the archmage told her interrogating cultists is dirty work unsuitable for the hero, so he sent her to follow him instead. Our guy sighs internally, realizing the old lion literally just dumped his hyperactive kid on him so he could work in peace. They walk down the street together, the paladin clutching her spiked mace while keeping pace with his long strides. Our guy grumbles under his breath, locked into his edgy persona. He asks if her holy order only knows how to hunt demons after someone feeds them the information on a silver platter. Her eyes light up instantly, like a golden retriever receiving a treat. She starts gushing about how profound his words are, completely taking his rude insult as a deep lesson in proactivity. Our guy looks away, sweating internally. Look at her. She looks like a cute, talkative little kimchi dumpling holding a giant mace. As an introvert, having an overly cheerful companion praise his every sentence is borderline overwhelming. He looks down the street as the sun begins to set over the rooftops. He announces that they are heading straight to the Adventurers Guild. She gasps, realizing the guild must have local bounty requests involving monsters. Our guy groans in his mind. He is stuck in hardcore roleplay mode, meaning he isn't even allowed to drop the cold act and be nice to her. He walks ahead with tears in his eyes, cursing his own character concept for forcing him to be mean to a cute dumpling. The wooden sign of the Soman Adventurers Guild hangs quietly over the street. He pushes open the front doors, stepping inside the warm, wood-paneled lobby. The Lion Archmage steps in right behind them, praising our guy's brilliant idea to use local guild networks. Our guy walks straight up to the counter, throwing down his metal badge and demanding any requests related to demons. The guild clerk, a young guy with glasses, picks up the badge and checks the registration details. When our guy asks to read the quest forms himself, the clerk looks up in utter shock, amazed that a dark knight can actually read. The clerk slides a yellowed paper across the counter, detailing multiple mysterious deaths near the district accompanied by a foul stench. Our guy casually glances at it and tells him he already cleared that quest an hour ago. He stares at the 500,000 gil reward payout on the paper, wondering if he actually gets the gold or if the temple is going to pocket it. The archmage leans over the counter, asking if anyone in the city has suddenly disappeared or started going on random rampages. The paladin slams her holy badge down next to theirs, confirming they are all working together. The clerk adjusts his glasses, his eyes widening as he reads the names on the metal plates. An official Inquisitor Executioner and a third-class archmage from the Magic Tower. His face lights up with sheer fanboy excitement, promising to dig through every piece of rumor in his memory. Our guy watches him panic, comparing it to working a night shift at a fast food joint when a group of world-famous VIPs suddenly walks in. The clerk taps his chin, recalling a minor rumor circulating among local adventurers. He mentions that recently, there have been significantly fewer pickpockets operating in the market districts, and even stranger, the beggars in the slums seem to be vanishing off the streets one by one. He assumed it was just a disease spreading through the poor districts, so he didn't pay much attention to it. Before he can even finish his sentence, the paladin slams both fists onto the wooden counter with a force that nearly splits the wood in half. Her face turns beet red, steam practically blowing out of her ears as her anger overflows. Our guy looks at her, internally nicknaming her Angry Dumpling. The clerk shrinks back behind the desk, terrified as the paladin demands to know if people have forgotten God's blessings. The archmage nods calmly, telling the clerk to report any further news straight to the temple. Our guy looks at the poor, overworked clerk, offering a silent good luck before turning toward the door. He steps out into the cool night air, glad the clerk is just a computer NPC rather than a real underpaid worker. He states his next destination with absolute conviction, the slums. The archmage agrees immediately, taking the paladin by the shoulder to follow him. The paladin's eyes burn with determination as she vows to learn everything from her dark mentor. They march down the cobblestone street together, under the moonlight. Our guy looks up at the dark sky, thinking about the HP draining field inside the temple. He realizes it is massive foreshadowing. Eventually, there will be a plot twist that forces him to fight the Holy Order for real. And when that happens, this innocent paladin is going to have her entire worldview shattered into pieces. He looks back at her, already feeling a wave of emotional angst for her character arc. He shakes his head. Why is he worrying about tragic character development before the plot even starts? He smiles to himself. That kind of tragedy is what makes RPG storylines so damn good anyway. A new quest box updates. The paladin jogs up beside him, asking how he already knows the path to the slums. Our guy delivers an edgy response, telling her that places where lowlifes gather are always the same. What he actually did was open his minimap UI and look for the cluster of red dots floating in the corner of the screen. In this game engine, hostile humans and criminal NPCs automatically show up as red dots on the map overlay. He looks ahead as the clean stone streets transition into narrow, rotting wooden alleyways. He remembers that a Demon Knight build isn't exactly optimized for close-quarters slum combat. Their shadows stretch across the damp cobblestones as they step under the archway. The slums stretch out below them, a maze of dilapidated shacks, dark alleys, and absolute silence. A few minutes later, our guy is standing inside a dimly lit wooden room, listening to a man whimpering in terror. Sweat drips down the stubbled chin of a fat man tied up against the wall. Standing right in front of him is the short-haired paladin, her spiked mace pointed directly at his stomach. She screams at the top of her lungs, ordering the criminal boss to swear to God and tell the truth. She leans in with glowing green eyes, demanding to know if he is absolutely sure the Holy Order was the one who took the missing people. To understand how they ended up threatening a slum boss, we have to rewind to a few minutes prior. The party was walking through the main alleyway of the slums, surrounded by glowing red dots on the minimap. The paladin was looking around nervously, sensing the heavy, hostile aura in the air. The archmage noted that the atmosphere was unusual, while our guy kept his eyes locked on his map interface. He slowed his pace, waiting for the scripted event trigger he knew was coming. Right on cue, a dark-haired figure comes running out of an alley, crashing straight into our guy's chest. The person mumbles a quick apology, sliding past his coat to disappear into the shadows. Before the thief can take 2 steps, our guy's gauntleted hand shoots out, grabbing her wrist in an iron grip. He pulls the freckled pickpocket girl back, delivering a prepared, edgy line about keeping her wrists if she cooperates. Internally, he is posing with imaginary glasses, extremely proud that his pre-written cool lines matched the event perfectly. In standard RPGs, target NPCs have giant floating quest markers over their heads. Since this remake hides floating UI markers in the world space, quest targets literally deliver themselves straight to your hands. He checks his belt pouch, satisfied that his gold is still intact. Heavy footsteps echo from behind as the paladin marches up with her mace raised high. She looms over the captured thief, her face twisted in holy fury. She shouts the holy doctrine, declaring that God forbids stealing the wealth of others. She raises her heavy mace, ready to chop the girl's hands off right then and there, until the archmage places a gentle claw on her shoulder, telling her that rules shouldn't be applied blindly. The paladin turns back, arguing that the thief tried to commit a crime right in front of their eyes. The archmage smiles softly, reminding her to practice the mercy she learned from our guy. In the archmage's mind, a glowing golden image of our guy sitting like a holy Buddha flashes behind his eyes. The paladin hesitates, looking down at her weapon as the archmage's words land. She lowers her mace with a pout, reluctantly agreeing to follow her mentor's example. Our guy looks sideways, utterly confused by why a golden Buddha image just manifested in a fantasy priest's head. The pickpocket girl struggles against his gauntlet, yelling for them to tell her what they want. Our guy leans down, his red eye patch glowing, as he orders her to lead them to the boss controlling the local thieves. Which brings us right back to the present. Inside the fat slum boss's wooden hideout, the boss trembles under the paladin's mace, swearing on his life that priests from the Holy Order came and took the beggars away. He stammers that the Inquisitors claimed they were taking them away for rehabilitation. The paladin's eyes snap wide open as she screams blasphemy at the top of her lungs. She shouts that criminal rehabilitation is strictly regulated by the Grand Temple, and taking people without authorization is an absolute crime. The archmage looks at her with a deadpan face, pointing out that illegal rehabilitation protocol is definitely not the main issue here. Our guy steps forward, his dark eyes narrowing as the plot lines begin to connect. This isn't a minor side quest. This is the main storyline of the Demon Knight route unfolding. He looks down at the fat boss, demanding to know when this started and how many people were taken. The boss sweats through his shirt, explaining that it started about a month ago, quietly taking 1 or 2 people at a time. He compares them to human traffickers, dragging poor citizens into the dark. Seeing the paladin's mace twitch, the boss panics, screaming that it was just a metaphor. The paladin's jaw tightens as her hands begin to shake on her weapon. The archmage steps in, asking if the abductions happened on a regular schedule. The boss confirms they came 2 or 3 times a week during set patrol hours, so he told everyone in the slums to stay indoors. He wipes sweat from his bald head, pleading for his life. The archmage gasps, a cold realization settling over her lion features. She covers her mouth, whispering the horrifying truth. The missing people are being used as live sacrifices for demons. The paladin screams in total denial, shouting that the Holy Order would never commit such an atrocity. Our guy scoffs, calling her naive belief utter bullshit. He rests his hand on his sword hilt, stepping past her trembling frame. He tells her flatly that terrible things happen in this world, whether she chooses to believe in her Holy Order or not. Internally, our guy is practically doing backflips of pure joy. A righteous hero having her core beliefs shattered by the dark reality of her own church? This is god-tier anime writing. He turns back to the fat boss, asking where the victims were actually taken. The boss stammers that he only receives reports and has no idea about the final location. The freckled pickpocket girl steps out from the corner, speaking up before they can leave. She looks at our guy with serious eyes, stating that she knows someone who might actually have the location. Our guy turns his head toward her, his long trench coat trailing behind him. He steps right up to her, looming over her small frame with his split hair shadowing his face. Internally, he gives her a 10 out of 10 for being a brave, proactive side character. Outwardly, he delivers a cold two-word command, lead the way. Outside, crows fly over the dilapidated roofs as the wind whistles through the back alleys. A stray dog chews on a bone in the dark lane as the party follows the freckled girl deep into the slum territory. Our guy walks with his hand near his sword, keeping an eye on their surroundings. The girl stops at a stone archway, warning them that they are entering the real back alleys now. She tells them strictly not to draw any weapons, because the people inside are extremely on edge. She glares directly at the paladin, stating that the slum residents especially hate anyone wearing clerical robes. The paladin huffs, turning her head away, but the archmage quickly warns her to stay calm. The pickpocket girl crosses her arms, huffing that she is only helping because this matters to her community. Our guy looks at the two of them glaring at each other like an angry cat and a red hawk. He smiles internally, wondering if this thief girl is designed as a tsundere feisty kitten archetype. He catches himself, wondering if comparing an NPC to a cat is considered offensive in a world where lion beastmen exist. They march down the dark alleyway, completely unaware of the shadow watching them from above. Perched on the edge of a high roof is a slender figure wrapped in a white hooded cloak, a long green tail flicking behind them. A red system warning flashes across our guy's vision. A hostile target is within a 20-meter radius. A red system alert flashes in front of our guy. Hostile target detected within 20 meters. The pickpocket girl panics, yelling at him because she specifically told him not to draw his sword. Our guy looks up at the roof with a cold glare, telling her that if she wants him to put his weapon away, the guy standing on the roof edge should probably put away his first. A figure sitting on the tiles smiles down at them, admitting our guy's reaction speed is insanely fast. He leaps off the roof, dropping through the night air like a feather. He lands smoothly on the cobblestones, pulling back his white hood to reveal messy green hair and cat ears. He checks off our guy's features: two-toned hair, gauntlet on one arm, red eye patch. He smirks, stating there is no mistaking that custom build anywhere. He bows mockingly, greeting him directly as Lord Demon Knight. The paladin and the archmage look at our guy, asking if this rooftop catman is an acquaintance of his. Our guy stares at him, his internal brain completely blanking out. Is this guy part of the game lore? In 15 years of playing, he has zero memory of a cheeky cat NPC showing up here. The cat guy waves his hand, explaining he only knows our guy by reputation because he is a huge local celebrity. Our guy tilts his head, asking if he wants a pat on the back just for recognizing him. The cat guy laughs it off, asking what brought a dark knight and a squad of Holy Order paladins into the slums. He narrows his green eyes, asking if they are helping the church kidnap more innocent people. The paladin bristles with rage, but the pickpocket girl steps between them, shouting that they actually came to investigate the abductions. Our guy looks back and forth between them, completely confused by all the cat-themed characters popping up tonight. The pickpocket girl confirms that the group thinks the disappearances are directly tied to demons. The cat guy's playful attitude vanishes instantly. He grips his hood, realizing that if demons are involved, the local temple is dirty beyond belief. Our guy tells him straight up that they came here to find out the truth for themselves. The archmage steps forward, explaining that they are outsiders investigating the city's corruption from the ground up. He asks the cat guy to cooperate so they can prevent any more victims from dying. The cat guy's green tail flicks nervously behind his boots as he considers the offer. He looks them over, making a quick tactical decision. He raises his hand and snaps his fingers crisp into the night air. A hidden rogue steps out from the shadow of a wall, receiving a silent command to go report to their guild leadership. The subordinate asks if the cat guy is really going to guide these outsiders alone. He nods, stating he can look after himself no matter what happens down there. A golden UI panel updates in front of our guy. Our guy figures this guy must be a high-ranking member of the local thieves guild or information network. The cat guy turns around, telling them to follow him if they want to see where the victims were taken. He launches himself across the alleyway, moving at high rogue speed. The lion archmage sighs, complaining about running around like a teenager in his old age. She raises her crystal staff, casting a high-tier speed buff across the entire party. Our guy feels his boots grow light, absolutely loving the party movement buff. He sprints down the street, hoping he can speedrun this area boss before his full dive session expires. They cross the boundary into the city's commercial district, where paved streets and stone storefronts replace the slum shacks. The cat guy slides into a quiet side lane between two tall buildings. He points toward a quiet wooden storefront down the alley, confirming that is the exact location. The paladin gasps, looking at the building in utter disbelief. It is a completely ordinary, harmless-looking vegetable shop with crates of carrots and cabbages out front. The archmage closes her eyes, sensing a powerful magic concealment barrier wrapped around the building. The cat guy nods, confirming there is a massive barrier hidden in the basement warehouse. The quest window flashes. The archmage taps her chin, stating that since the barrier is focused on stealth rather than defense, breaking it quietly will take time. Our guy double-checks his quest log. Does it mention stealth anywhere? Nope. 0 stealth requirements. He draws his longsword from his back, casually announcing that he is going in right now. The cat guy panics, grabbing his shoulder and asking if he has completely lost his mind. Our guy brushes his hand off, delivering an edgy line about how kidnapping is a far worse felony than trespassing. He tells the cat guy that if he is scared, he can stay back and watch. Internally, our guy was just tired of planning and said whatever random line came to his head. He figures they are just video game NPCs, so they will automatically follow his party leader path anyway. The cat guy stares at his back in absolute disbelief, asking if this man is always this suicidal. The archmage laughs softly, admitting they've only known him for a few days, but his absolute conviction and skill are unmatched. The paladin tightens her grip on her mace, her green eyes burning with determination. She mentions how he captured a live demon contractor just yesterday without flinching. She vows that if the temple is really colluding with demon cultists, she will crush them herself. The cat guy looks at her intense expression, realizing these people are dead serious. She tells the cat guy to hide if he is scared, because he has already done enough by guiding them here. The archmage praises her growth, impressed by how much her mindset has matured. They sprint into the shop after our guy, leaving the cat guy standing alone in the alley. He scratches his green hair in total frustration, cursing them for rushing into a trap completely unprepared. He narrows his cat eyes, looking at the open shop door. He groans that this job is going to get him killed, sprinting in right behind them anyway. He pushes through the front door, stepping onto scattered carrots and squashed vegetables. Our guy is standing in the middle of the room, looking back over his shoulder with a deadpan glare. He has already knocked out and tied up both shop guards, leaving them face down on the floor while he waits for the party to catch up. Our guy kicks open the heavy wooden trapdoor in the floor, revealing a dark stone staircase leading down. He looks down into the dark underpass, noting that the ambient lighting screams regional boss fight arena. The paladin and archmage rush into the room, gasping when they see the guards already tied up on the floor. The cat guy steps in right behind them, sweating nervously as he looks at the instant knockouts. Our guy gives them a cold side-eye, telling them that if they are getting cold feet, they should turn around now. The paladin yells for him to wait, charging down the basement steps right behind him. Our guy walks down the stone stairs, his eyes narrowing as a cold sensation washes over his skin. He feels a strange tingling sensation, the game's physical feedback rendering heavy ambient dark mana. The paladin stops on the steps, sensing a massive wave of demonic energy radiating from below. She shouts that a ritual is actively happening down there, and they need to hurry. The archmage casts another spell, wrapping the party in glowing blue acceleration circles. Our guy looks at the speed aura around his boots, realizing this is his very first official party combat in this game. They charge down the Longstone underpass at maximum speed. A location tag flashes in his view. They reach the end of the corridor, where a massive set of double doors blocks the way. Our guy channels dark energy into his gauntlet, shattering the iron lock with a single heavy strike. He kicks the heavy double doors clean off their hinges, sending wood splinters flying across the room. Inside a massive stone ritual chamber, several hooded cultists spin around in shock. The cultist leader curses, screaming that the summoning ritual isn't finished yet. He recognizes our guy's dark build, yelling in terror that the hero party has breached the hideout. The paladin steps through the shattered doorway, raising her mace high as she announces that their executioner has arrived. The cultist leader panics, shouting for his men to buy time at all costs. He holds his hands over a dark magic circle on the floor, summoning dark energy from the abyss. A glowing red-eyed skull manifests in the dark smoke as purple summoning circles cover the floor. Dozens of low-level skeleton warriors erupt from the stone ground, brandishing rusty swords. The archmage begins chanting a high-tier spell, asking the cat guy to cover her while she casts. The paladin shouts a holy prayer, raising her massive tower shield to form a front line. Our guy steps right past her shield, taking the absolute front position of the vanguard. He draws his sword, dropping a classic Chunabu line about victory belonging to his blade. He slashes his dark energy beam straight into the front line of skeletons, shattering bones across the room. He tells the paladin he refuses to yield the front position to anyone. The paladin looks at him with total awe, her mind completely blown by his fearless charge. She shouts that he is amazing, but taking on the entire horde alone is too much even for him. Her green eyes ignite with holy fire as she plants her boots on the floor. She screams that as a holy knight, her duty is to protect the vanguard, smashing her mace straight into a cluster of skeletons. Our guy looks sideways at her, sweating internally as she pulverizes 3 skeletons in one swing. Stop. If you kill them, I don't get the experience points. You are stealing my mob kills. The cultist leader screams at the top of his lungs, holding up a glowing red crystal. Massive shadowy Draugr phantoms erupt from the altar room, filling the ceiling with dark mana. He points his bleeding hand directly at our guy, screaming that Gretchen will pay for betraying the cult. He commands the Draugr to make our guy the first blood sacrifice of the Dark Realm. A torrent of dark purple laser beams blasts out from the ceiling, raining straight down toward our guy's head. The archmage and the cat guy scream out in horror as the floor explodes in dark smoke. The paladin gasps, charging forward at full speed to block the blast with her shield. She screams his name, tears forming in her eyes as dark smoke swallows his position. She smashes through 3 skeletons, desperate to reach him before he gets pulverized. Suddenly, a dark silhouette shoots straight up out of the smoke cloud into the high ceiling space. Our guy flips gracefully through the air, completely untouched by the dark beams below. The paladin looks up in total shock, her jaw dropping as she sees him floating above the battlefield. Our guy smirks down at the horde. Clustering all the trash mobs in one spot actually works out way better. He channels dark energy through his blade, holding his long sword point down toward the floor. He activates his heavy AoE skill. He drives his sword straight into the center of the ritual circle, detonating a massive wave of dark purple energy. The shockwave shatters the entire stone floor, vaporizing dozens of skeletons and blowing the Draugr phantoms to dust. The paladin hides behind her shield, completely blown away by the sheer magnitude of his combat power. The cultist leader falls onto his back, blood streaming from his eyes as he screams in utter terror. Our guy stands in the center of the crater, dark energy crackling around his trench coat. He locks his glowing red eye onto the cultist leader, his aura radiating absolute death. The cultist scrambles backward on his hands and knees, frantically ordering his remaining men to kill him. Our guy walks through the smoke, his boots crushing bones beneath his heel as the cultists run in total panic. The cultists trip over their own robes, screaming for mercy as they run toward the back exit. They crash into each other at the doorway, knocking over ritual candles and incense burners. Our guy raises his sword, delivering a cold execute line, telling the vermin to fall into the deepest depths of hell. He slashes his dark energy crescent through the doorway, cutting down the fleeing cultists in one clean sweep. The bodies collapse onto the stone floor, their blood spilling directly across the glowing ritual runes on the ground. The blood seeps into the ancient red carvings, causing the entire floor to glow with a blinding crimson light. A terrifying, ancient dark mana surges up from the bloody runes as the ritual circle activates on its own. Our guy takes a breath, looking like a man who just barely survived a multi-stage boss fight. His system UI is flashing red warnings in every corner of his vision, spamming damage alerts while new skill notifications pile up on top of each other. He looks at his glowing blade, realizing the game just handed him an absurdly overpowered skill out of nowhere. When a game hands you god-tier abilities this early, it is not a reward, it is a warning that the developers intend to make you suffer later. He glances back over his shoulder to see how the rest of his party is holding up, and right on cue, a giant mace ignites with pure holy flame. Kimchi Dumpling charges straight into the front lines like a runaway freight train. Her eyes lock onto the remaining undead, radiating pure fanatic energy. She slams her tower shield directly into a cultist's face hard enough to reset his graphics settings. She screams over her shoulder at the lion archmage, demanding to know how long she has to solo tank the entire room. The lion sage smiles, his massive staff crackling with ice magic. He raises his staff and casts a high-tier elemental AoE spell right over their heads. A torrent of frozen blue flames crashes down from the ceiling, completely blanketing the underpass. The remaining cultists melt into black mist before they can even finish screaming. Our guy stands in the middle of the room, looking cool while his dark aura slowly dissipates. Then he realizes he voiced his edgy internal monologues out loud again and gets internally embarrassed. The cat guy stalker lands gracefully beside the archmage, looking around at the absolute carnage. He smirks under his hood, clearly realizing this party is not operating at normal human levels. Kimchi Dumpling runs up to our guy, reporting that every mob in the area has been cleared, though she regrets not saving a live target for interrogation. Our guy stands silent for a second. Then he casually steps forward and plants his boot directly onto the bloody chest of a dying cultist. The purple-haired cultist leader coughs up blood, glaring up at him and whispering the name Gretchen through his teeth. Our guy reaches down with his metallic gauntlet arm. He grabs the cultist by the throat, hoisting him into the air with zero effort. He looks down at him with glowing eyes, telling him that trash does not get to speak his name. The cultist is literally choking to death, but instead of panicking, his mouth twitches into a psychotic smile. He starts laughing hysterically right in our guy's face. He screams that it does not matter if they get cast aside, because everything is going according to plan. He stretches his bloody hand up toward the ceiling, gasping out his final words. He whispers that their king is still waiting for him. His hand drops dead, and a single drop of blood hits the center of the magic circle on the floor. Kimchi Dumpling's eyes go wide. She yells at our guy to fall back immediately. She can feel a massive surge of demonic mana rising from beneath the stones. The blood on the floor ignites, triggering a mandatory cutscene boss portal right under their feet. Dark red lightning tears through the room, swallowing the cultist's body whole. A pillar of crimson energy detonates upward, throwing dust everywhere. The shockwave ripples out with force, Kimchi Dumpling dives in front of our guy, planting her shield into the dirt to block the blast wave. She asks if he is alright, and our guy gives her a deadpan look, asking if her eyes are decorative. Internally, he is crying about his spine, because even with the pain settings turned down, physics hurt. The cat guy and Archmage back up, sweating as the mana density in the room skyrockets. A giant aquatic dragon serpent emerges from the red portal, a level-headed monster known as a knocker, equipped with poison fangs and steel scales. Our guy recognizes it instantly, because there was no quest option to interrupt the ritual. This boss fight was completely unskippable. The entire party is reflected in the giant beast's glowing yellow eye. The knocker opens a mouth full of jagged teeth and roars hard enough to shake the stone pillars. It dives straight down toward the group like an artillery shell. Kimchi Dumpling steps directly into its path without flinching. She stands right between the monster and the party, raising her shield. She shouts a prayer for divine strength to stand against evil. The knocker's massive head slams directly into her holy shield, sending shockwaves through the floor. She screams through her teeth, holding her ground through sheer brute strength. She single-handedly stops a multi-ton dragon serpent dead in its tracks. Our guy stands behind her, genuinely impressed by the absurd defensive stats of a main tank class. Then his DPS brain kicks in, and he wonders why she didn't just jump out of the way and dodge it. The cat guy is sweating bullets, asking if tanking that head-on is actually a sane strategy. He screams at the Archmage, asking if this creature has a specific targetable weakness. The Archmage calls out that its weakness is its head, while our guy decides it is time to step up and do his job as the primary damage dealer. He launches himself off the stone floor with speed. The Archmage screams the target location, just as our guy calls it out internally. He leaps high into the air above the roaring beast, pulling his dark sword back. His eyes flash with purple demonic energy. He channels his skill Breaker and unleashes a massive crescent wave of dark mana right across its neck. Kimchi Dumpling freezes as blood sprays across her shield. The Archmage and cat guy stare with their mouths wide open as a wall of red coats the room. Our guy lands smoothly in a crouch as the colossal head detaches from the body and hits the floor. He stands up, looks at the headless corpse, and realizes something is very wrong with the boss mechanics. The massive body of the knocker thuds against the flagstones, dead in a single strike. A dying cultist nearby spits up blood, utterly horrified that a high-tier demon was killed instantly. The rest of the cultists tremble, screaming about how its steel scales were supposed to be indestructible. Our guy is internally screaming the exact same thing while holding his head in frustration. He breaks down game logic in his head. Boss fights are supposed to be about breaking body part HP gauges, not one-shotting the main head in Phase 1. He walks up to the corpse, annoyed that the developers made a boss that dies this easily. In the original lore of Legend of Heroes N, this thing was never meant to go down to a single strike to the neck. He leans over to check if there is a second phase gimmick hidden inside the head, and right on cue, the headless torso twitches and rises back to its feet. It thrashes out wildly, swinging a blind attack straight toward his head. Out of nowhere, the cat guy leaps in, grabbing our guy by the shoulders and pulling him back from the strike. He lands beside him, sweating heavily while warning him to watch his blind spots. Our guy blinks, thanking the NPC internally for saving him while he was distracted by game mechanics. He gets a clear look at the cat guy in the light for the first time. A memory scroll unlocks in his mind. This guy is using the exact official model and class kit of an advanced thief character. The cat guy sees our guy staring at him with an intense deadpan expression and instantly backs up, panicking that he offended him. Our guy ignores his panic, filing away the fact that this guy is definitely a recruitable party member for later. The headless knocker ignites with purple dark flames, triggering its true desperation phase. Our guy charges forward, knowing the NPCs think the head was the weakness, because the real mechanics are too long to explain to them. The actual hidden weakness is a single inverted scale on its chest, a reverse scale. In Eastern Dragon lore, hitting this specific point instantly bypasses the boss's remaining health pool. Usually, you have to chip away the boss's HP bar for the scale to expose itself, but our guy isn't waiting around. He jumps straight into the air, calling the boss pointlessly stubborn. He channels dark energy into his sword, announcing that its struggle ends right now. He tries to trigger his standard ground crash skill to crush the chest cavity. Instead, his character thrusts the blade straight into the exact pixel of the reverse scale. The blade pierces deep into the glowing core. The entire colossal demon disintegrates into glowing particles of light, leaving the party staring in disbelief. The dust settles across the bloodied underpass, total silence filling the room. Our guy stands there, looking at his sword, with a deeply confused face. The entire boss body turns to ash and vanishes into thin air. He stares at his hands, knowing for a fact that he pressed the input for ground crash, not a thrust. He opens his skill tree UI in his head. He dumped all his points into ground crash, meaning he literally did not own a thrusting skill. Yet the moment he felt regret about not having one, his character executed a thrusting animation anyway. He wonders if it's an input bug. Right as the last cultist starts screaming, Kimchi Dumpling has the surviving cultist tied up with holy rope, glaring down at him for betraying humanity. She turns to our guy, asking if he wants the honor of executing the traitor himself. Our guy decides he will file a bug report with the devs as soon as he logs out, then turns to face the prisoner. He walks over with a cold glint in his eye, telling the cultist to keep babbling. He steps up to the cowering man, delivering his best Chunabu monologue about measuring his wrath. The cultist bursts into tears, trembling on the floor as the red tip of the sword touches his throat. Our guy leans down, looking terrifying with his split hair and glowing eye. Before he can strike, the lion archmage steps into his path and puts a hand up. Our guy asks if he plans on stopping him again, but the archmage simply asks him to keep the decapitation clean so they can use the head as evidence. He rests a giant paw on our guy's shoulder, casually mentioning that the cultist was getting annoying anyway. Our guy gives a cold side-eye. A single dark slash passes through the air, and the cultist's head rolls across the floor. The archmage nods, declaring that they should clean up the rest to bring peace to the victims' souls. The cat guy stalker steps out from the shadows, speaking up in a quiet voice. He looks at the party, asking for a single favor. His green eyes go completely dark, asking to take one of the captured cultists alive for himself. He looks down at the sea of dead slum residents, revealing that his own friends and family are scattered among the bodies. He wants to give the survivors in the slums a chance to get direct revenge before burying their dead. Kimchi Dumpling looks at him with sympathy, but immediately shakes her head, stating that the law strictly forbids vigilante justice. She tells him the temple will handle the official memorial services, while our guy starts walking away, completely disinterested in church policy. The cat guy snaps, mocking the idea of holding a prayer service inside the very institution that allowed his family to be slaughtered. Kimchi Dumpling gets furious, screaming that the traitors were just a few corrupted turncoats and that the Holy Order will audit everything properly. The cat guy laughs right in her face, asking if she expects them to believe she won't just label all the slum victims as thieves and bury the truth. He steps up to her, shouting that the church is just using the souls of the dead to cover up their own failures. He grits his teeth, raising his voice right before an object flies through the air. Our guy casually kicks a tied-up, breathing cultist right into the cat guy's shins. He tells the cat guy to take him and leave, making Kimchi Dumpling gasp in shock. Our guy looks back at her, pointing out that if her precious law enforcement had done their jobs in the slums in the first place, these cultists would have been caught weeks ago. He turns his glare toward the cat guy stalker. He warns him that if the prisoner escapes his sight, he will personally come back to claim the cat guy's head instead, a condition the rogue instantly accepts. A gold quest window erupts in our guy's vision, confirming that the main quest, Ominous Omen, is officially complete. He looks down and sees Kimchi Dumpling staring up at him with massive, shining eyes, completely moved by his cold version of justice. He internally begs her to stop looking at him like that, thinking about how sore his actual physical body is going to feel after a 12-hour VR session. He decides it is time to wrap up the session, stretching his arms and raising his hand to summon the system menu. He opens his mouth and utters the system command to log out. A red error window flashes across his screen, command unavailable. He spams the voice command again, but the entire world glitches into a sea of red code, leaving him staring into the dark with zero response from the system. Log out. Log out. Log out. 4 red error boxes flash in his face back to back, repeating the exact same message. Command unavailable. Our guy stands frozen in the middle of the hall, staring into the middle distance while his soul slowly leaves his body. Sweat drops down his cheek as the realization hits him like a freight train. A logout error in a full dive VR game? Is this developer team out of their minds? If news of a game-breaking bug like this gets out, the studio goes bankrupt overnight. He tries coping that it is just a localized dungeon lockout, right as Kimchi Dumpling calls out his name. She steps closer, looking at him with genuine concern and asking if he sees something invisible in the air. She glances around the empty corridor, seeing absolutely nothing. Her green eyes narrow as her brain immediately starts connecting dots that do not exist. She remembers what the lion archmage told her, that normal hosts possessed by parasitic demons turn into brainless zombies, but our guy suppresses his through sheer mental willpower. Her fingers white-knuckle the handle of her silver-spiked mace. She grips the weapon so hard the leather wrapping groans under the pressure. Our guy suddenly turns on his heel and starts walking away without saying a word, making her jump. She calls out after him, asking where on earth he is going. Our guy drops a cold, edgy line over his shoulder about going to execute the corrupted turncoats who dared to collude with demons. Outwardly, he looks like a brooding dark anti-hero walking into the sunset. Inwardly, he is screaming logout at the top of his digital lungs over and over again. The archmage glides up beside Kimchi Dumpling, asking softly if she senses any stray demonic energy coming from him. She admits there is none, but her expression stays dead serious. She watches his back fade down the hallway, convincing herself that even right now, he is fighting a silent, agonistic war inside his own mind against the demon in his gauntlet. Her chest fills with fanatical respect, her grip on her mace tightening even further. Further back, the cat guy stalker glances at the archmage, asking if something is genuinely off with their Dark Knight friend. The archmage notes that for a group that hasn't been together long, the rogue is surprisingly observant. The cat guy just smirks under his hood, He shrugs nonchalantly, boasting that as a street bandit, surviving on his wits is literally his job description. Kimchi Dumpling instantly turns around and glares a hole through him, surrounded by an angry cat aura, telling him to watch his mouth, making the rogue hold up his hands. The Archmage ignores the squabbling and shifts the topic to the captured cultist. He calmly advises the cat rogue that if he isn't going to use holy magic for custody, he should execute the demon contractor immediately, prompting the rogue to ask if severing their limbs and tongue would buy enough safety time instead. The Archmage warns him that demon power operates differently from standard mana and not to lower his guard, so the cat guy promises to finish the job before sunrise. The Archmage turns toward the stairs, telling the Inquisitor it is time to head back above ground. Kimchi Dumpling turns on a dime, her cloak whipping around her legs. She sprints up the long stone staircase, practically flying toward the exit. Her face is illuminated by holy light as she prays internally for God to lead them along the righteous path. Cut to the Soman commercial district, where the morning sun is rising over fresh market produce and quiet wooden rooftops. The four of them walk out onto the cobblestone street in a line like an awkward fantasy boy band. The cat guy stalker falls into step right next to our guy, mentioning casually that bandits never forget a grudge. He looks sideways at our guy, adding that they never forget a debt of honor, either. He declares that he will definitely find a way to repay this massive favor, but our guy just gives him a deadpan side-eye and tells him he doesn't need it. The cat guy insists anyway, bumping his shoulder and saying he is going to repay it regardless, while our guy repeats that he genuinely does not care. Because internally, our guy is having a total mental breakdown, screaming that the only thing he needs in this universe is a functional logout button. A gold system UI window pops up right in front of his nose, updating the quest, Nigh Ominous Omen, to direct him to the temple. Our guy internally tells the game developers where they can shove their quest UI. The cat guy shrugs and walks off into an alley, leaving our guy sweating over how the game's AI is hyper-responsive, while the basic UI code is completely broken. He tries again, focusing his mind and repeating the verbal command as subtly as possible. He opens his system settings and aggressively spams the red button over audio, graphics, and quality of life menus, only to get spammed with error pop-ups. Panic starts setting in for real. If he actually cannot log out, what is going to happen to his physical body? He runs through his real-life situation. He lives alone, works as a freelance webtoon author with no strict deadlines, and has zero bosses checking in on him. Worse, he spent the last 3 days bragging to all his friends that he was going to lock himself in his room for a week-long Legend of Heroes binge session, so nobody is coming to check on his apartment. He visualizes his high-tech VR capsule, sitting silently in his empty apartment room, realizing that staying trapped inside without nutrient IV solutions means actual physical starvation. Then a light bulb goes off in his head. The capsule hardware. Every full-dive VR pod legally requires a physical emergency manual override button on the inside casing to prevent system locks. He takes a deep breath and screams the hardware voice override at the top of his lungs. Emergency protocol. Capsule force quit. A giant red system window shuts him down instantly. Your command unavailable. Our guy grabs his hair with both hands, losing his absolute mind. Right in the middle of the public street, our guy starts flailing around, screaming every combination of logout, force quit, and trash game at the sky. The Lion Archmage stares at him in utter shock, yelling for him to speak to them, while Kimchi Dumpling panics, asking if he can even hear her voice. A squad of local temple guards comes running around the corner, demanding to know who is causing a disturbance in the district. Kimchi Dumpling sweats profusely, realizing that if our guy goes into a dark mana frenzy right here, the guards will execute him on sight. The camera zooms in on her mouth as a dramatic narrator voiceover kicks in. She realizes that back then, there was so much she didn't understand. She looks back at him, her eyes burning with pure, unadulterated resolve. She launches herself off the cobblestones like a missile, leaving a dust cloud behind. She leaps high into the air, bringing her massive tower shield down directly onto our guy's head, while he looks up in total confusion. The heavy steel edge of the shield slams directly into his jaw, with a sound like a cannon shot, screaming for him to snap out of it. Our guy gets smashed flat against the stone wall, blood dripping from his lip as Kimchi Dumpling pins him down with her shield, noting that she knew he wouldn't go down from a single hit. Our guy is internally losing his mind, screaming in confusion about why the main heroine is suddenly jumping him, wondering if she secretly turned out to be a cultist, and questioning why the low pain setting is disabled. Then Kimchi Dumpling pulls her shield back and beams at him with the brightest, purest smile you have ever seen. She sighs in relief, stating she is so glad his right gauntlet arm seems to have finally calmed down, leaving our guy completely speechless. She cheerfully explains that she assumed the demon dwelling inside his right arm must have briefly taken over his body and gone wild. A giant cartoon question mark floats over our guy's head as he tries to process her mental gymnastics. She pounds her fist against her chest armor, yelling at him not to worry because she never doubted his soul for a single second. Her eyes literally sparkle with shonen anime passion as she preaches that she trusts him to ultimately defeat the demon and never yield to darkness. She ignites her silver mace with holy aura, holding it high in the air. She gets swallowed by a dramatic pillar of holy flames, declaring that if his arm ever goes wild again, she will personally fight him to buy him time. Our guy stares at her with a deadpan face, internally asking what in the world she is babbling about. He slowly turns his head toward the Archmage, silently asking the old lion to explain why the paladin is having a random breakdown. The Archmage just closes his eyes and looks at him with profound, tragic sadness. The old lion asks softly if he is truly all right, making our guy internally groan over whether this entire interaction is just hard-coded NPC script dialogue. Our guy gives up and drops an edgy line aloud, asking if their eyes are merely decorative. Then he connects the dots in his own head. While he was flailing around yelling at the logout menu, they thought his parasitic gauntlet was taking over his body. He remembers his character's lore backstory, how the Demon Knight almost lost his body to a parasitic demon in the past, causing lingering psychological trauma. He groans internally about how a stupid system bug ruined his roleplay immersion, then turns his back on them, saying he has no time to waste on fools who can't tell the difference. The Archmage steps forward, his heavy robes rustling on the flagstones as he demands a real answer. The old lion opens his mouth, his fangs glinting in the morning light. He asks directly if our guy is 100% certain that his demonic right arm is under total control. Our guy pauses, his eye narrowing in dark roleplay mode. He turns his side profile, asking if his dark arm suddenly offends the Archmage's holy hypocrisy. The Archmage shakes his head, clarifying that he isn't judging him. He is genuinely worried about the thing dwelling inside him. Our guy clutches his dark gauntlet to his chest, delivering a textbook Chunabu line about how he simply hunts and kills demons, nothing more. He says he doesn't care what they think of him, and that he only travels with them because their goals happen to align. He tells them that instead of wasting time on useless chatter, they should have focused on slaying at least one more demon before walking away. The Archmage stares at his back, asking the million-dollar question. What happens if the Demon Knight eventually becomes the demon? Kimchi Dumpling instantly steps between them, raising her tower shield and shouting that such a thing will never happen. She states with absolute confidence that she deeply trusts the Demon Knight's reason and iron willpower. She delivers a sweeping speech about how humans are incomplete beings who must lean on each other to move forward, and that their meeting was guided by fate. Sparkles literally surround her face as she promises to stand by his side, just as God does. She looks down the street at our guy's back, swearing to protect his soul until he completely awakens. Our guy stands in the sunlight, listening to this entire dramatic speech from 10 paces away. He lets out a long, quiet sigh. He turns around and casually tells her that there is clearly no medical cure for her eyes, making her blink and thank him for his kind concern about her health. The Archmage dryly notes that he definitely wasn't talking about a physical injury, right as our guy suddenly breaks into a full-on Olympic sprint down the street, leaving Kimchi Dumpling screaming for him to wait. As our guy sprints down the alley, his internal gamer brain completely melts with joy over how insanely high her affinity meter just spiked. He visualizes himself in a fangirl heart pose, screaming internally that as a heavily immersed otaku, receiving this much unconditional trust and affection means he has no choice but to offer up his very soul. He throws his head back as he runs toward the horizon, deciding that the logout bug can wait, because this storyline is absolute peak cinema. Behind him, Kimchi Dumpling yells for the Archmage to hurry up and chase him, while the poor lion groans that making an old man sprint every 5 minutes is literal elder abuse. Cut to a shot of eyes, watching from a distance as the scene transitions. The Archmage and Inquisitor jog behind our guy, with the Archmage asking if she is truly confident in this choice. He points out that the sheer volume of dark mana they saw in the underpass was unstable, far beyond anything a normal human should handle. He admits straight up that if our guy ever truly lost control and went on a rampage, he lacks the confidence that the two of them could stop him. He looks at her, noting that she seemed deeply shaken earlier as well. Kimchi Dumpling looks down, admitting that a moment ago she saw genuine, raw fear in the Demon Knight's eyes. A visual of our guy covered in dark aura flashes across the panel, except the fear she saw was just him panicking about his real-life body starving in a VR capsule. She assumes the demon in his arm was actively threatening to devour his mind, recalling holy scripture about how dark entities feed on mental weakness. She looks at her mace, admitting she lacks high-tier purification magic or the eloquence to give him grand speeches. Her face lights up with righteous fire as she grips her weapon with both hands. She declares that with the martial prowess and heavy armor she possesses, she will act as his ultimate shield and protect his will from breaking. The lion Archmage listens to her speech, a soft fond smile breaking across his fur face. He chuckles, stating that in that case, he supposes he must offer his old strength as well, looking forward to working alongside her. Meanwhile, our guy is leaning against a tree outside the temple, staring at his quest window, one ominous sign's ditch, and internally complaining about why his party is taking so long to catch up when he literally can't enter church grounds without a tank. The camera pans up to the grand architecture of the Soman Grand Temple as the quest marker locks onto the building. Inside, the massive sunlit cathedral hall is packed to the brim with priests, with Kimchi Dumpling and the Archmage standing at the central high podium. The lower priests in the crowd whisper nervously among themselves, pointing at our guy standing by the back doors with his terrifying metallic gauntlet in plain view. Bang! Kimchi Dumpling slams her silver mace onto the wooden podium, making the entire cathedral echo with a single word, silence. She stands tall behind the altar, her green eyes scanning the crowd as she asks if every single clergyman in the district has gathered. A young priest stammers from the front row, confirming that outside of 7 unaccounted-for members, every priest is present. A dark, terrifying shadow falls over Kimchi Dumpling's face as her eyes glow with pure executioner energy, whispering a single word, good. She announces to the terrified crowd that from this exact second, she is opening a formal trial under the absolute authority of a heresy inquisitor. The priests sweat profusely as she raises her massive tower shield, her aura suffocating the entire room. Beside her, the Archmage raises his staff, sealing the exits with magic as she declares that every single person present will have their sins tested. Our guy leans against the back door, watching her go full Spanish Inquisition mode on her own church members. Her shadow stretches across the podium as she preaches that those without sin shall walk free. She snaps her head up, her face twisting into a terrifying executioner smile as she screams that those false servants who colluded with demons will receive immediate divine judgment. The system window updates, W_eliminate the traitors, 0/. Our guy touches his ear in total disbelief, looking at his quest UI and internally asking what in the world this game is trying to turn him into. He flexes his dark gauntlet arm at the back of the hall, realizing that whether he wants to or not, he is about to help his hyperactive party purge an entire cathedral. Inside the cathedral, Kimchi Dumpling stands over the altar, her silver mace glowing with divine light. She calls on the power of God to test the devotion of every priest gathered in the room. A beam of holy energy detonates across the front pews, completely shattering the stone floor. A group of corrupt priests turns pale, blood dripping from their noses as their divine power gets stripped away. They scream in pure terror as the executioner's aura suffocates the hall. Realizing their cover is blown, the traitors sprint toward the back doors in a panic. They yell to each other to fall back, noticing there is only a single mercenary blocking the main exit. The quest window flashes red, ordering the complete elimination of all temple traitors. Our guy stands by the heavy wooden doors, drawing both his blades with a cold, deadpan stare. Red target lines lock onto the fleeing priests as they charge straight toward him. A wave of crimson dark energy detonates through the hallway. Blood spatters across the white bandages on our guy's throat. He steps forward through the carnage, leaving a trail of red behind him as the remaining priests freeze in their tracks. The lead traitor stammers in horror, asking how a single man could cut down their entire group in seconds. Our guy turns his head, blocking the sunlight behind him as the traitors scream for another exit that doesn't exist. The camera zooms in on his dark side profile, looking like the ultimate final boss. Then we cut directly into his brain. Our guy is internally gagging, complaining that the blood graphics in this game taste way too metallic and that he can't even open his mouth to deliver an edgy line because he might swallow some. He wipes his lip with his gauntlet, wondering why the developers put this much detail into a routine priest storyline. He watches Kimchi Dumpling smash another altar in the background, guessing this entire brutal trial is just meant to flesh out her backstory. He decides to just stand there and look menacing while the main characters handle the cutscene. Suddenly, a knocking sound comes from the heavy side door right behind his shoulder. A pair of green cat ears pokes through the wooden gap. The cat guy stalker pops his head in with a huge, cheeky smile, waving casually at our guy. He greets our guy as "my lord," making our guy give him a cold glare through his blood-soaked bangs. Our guy tells him their business ended the second the demon boss died in the underpass. He asks if the cat rogue came here to confess to all his thief crimes, but the rogue just laughs. The cat guy smirks, revealing that he actually brought along 7 neatly wrapped gifts. He steps aside, showing 7 corrupt traitor priests tied up and gagged on the floor, groaning through their mouth wraps. He winks at our guy, reminding him that thieves never forget a favor and asking if he still has no need for help. Our guy stares at the pile of tied-up cultists, his mouth twitching behind his collar. A gold system UI window pops up, confirming all traitors have been accounted for, while our guy internally melts over how cute it is that a cat actually brought him 7 mice to repay a debt. Cut to the night sky over the temple as crows circle the Gothic towers. The heresy interrogation drags on past midnight inside the Grand Cathedral Hall. Priests who actively helped the demon worshippers escape are executed on the spot, while the rest undergo divine testing. In this world's lore, God immediately strips holy power from corrupt clergy. so any priest who can manifest holy light automatically proves their innocence, while those without divine skills have to sit through manual interrogation. Since our guy lacks any holy skills whatsoever, he is forced to lean against a stone pillar outside for 12 straight hours. He lets out a long, exhausted sigh into the cool night air. He grabs his hair with both hands, internally losing his mind over why his logout error is still happening. He breaks down the science in his head. If a player's physical body in the real world passes out or falls asleep, the neural link should automatically sever and force a disconnect. By now, more than enough time should have passed for his full dive capsule's nutrient fluid to run completely dry. His physical real-life body should have passed out from dehydration hours ago. He looks down at his boots, a sudden chill running up his spine. He forces an awkward smile, internally coping that he must have just miscalculated the in-game time compression ratio. He imagines his chibi self doing backflips, telling himself that as a Webtoon author with zero science background, making a math mistake is totally normal. He decides to stop overthinking it and just wait it out until the game servers fix themselves. Heavy footsteps approach as Kimchi Dumpling steps out onto the balcony, thanking him for waiting so patiently. The Lion Archmage follows behind her, reporting that the initial wave of traitors has been completely rooted out. She explains that city guards will hold the perimeter until an official Inquisitor team from the capital arrives. Suddenly, the cat guy rogue drops down from a tree branch above them, asking if leaving guards in charge is actually safe. He hangs upside down from a branch, admitting he doesn't trust the city guard at all. Kimchi Dumpling looks up, explaining that the remaining suspects are ordinary humans who can easily be contained by standard soldiers. The cat guy drops to the floor, telling her she completely missed his point, prompting her to ask what he meant. She clears her throat, admitting she would love to supervise the prison herself, but her divine mission takes absolute priority. She gets an intense, burning expression, declaring her duty as the chosen hero comes first. The cat guy gives her the most unimpressed, deadpan side-eye you will ever see. Our guy watches them from the shadows, reading the cat rogue's thoughts like a book. He knows the rogue is thinking there is no point arguing with a brainwashed paladin archetype. Our guy crosses his arms, noting internally that neither the city nor the church can be trusted to handle cultists. He utters a line aloud, saying he just hopes the next group dispatched from the capital isn't corrupt as well. Kimchi Dumpling turns to him, promising that the church will conduct a full-scale internal audit. The cat guy mocks her, saying high-ranking priests will probably just cover for their own friends, making Kimchi Dumpling snap at him to stop insulting the order. The Lion Archmage steps between them, placing a giant paw on the rogue's shoulder. The lion looks down at the cat guy with a sharp, searching expression. He points out that when they first met in the Allies, the rogue acted like he already knew who they were and somehow captured every single fleeing traitor before the trial even started. The cat guy's green eyes narrow as the lion states he has no choice but to be suspicious. The archmage lowers his voice, asking if they should interrogate the rogue next. The cat guy stands completely still under the moonlight, the tension in the courtyard hitting absolute maximum. The cat guy rogue looks up at the lion archmage, meeting his gaze without flinching. He lets out a long, casual sigh, shifting his weight onto one foot. He says he knew they would ask something like that just to save face, even if it is slightly annoying. He explains that after hearing about a mole inside the temple, he scattered his street thief boys around every alleyway and sewer exit around the building. A flashback shows his hooded thieves perched in trees and hiding in dark alleys around the cathedral. When the corrupt priests came scurrying out the back doors, his boys simply jumped them from the shadows and tied them up. The archmage listens carefully, then smiles warmly, thanking him for the clear explanation and stating he won't be heartless after receiving his help. Kimchi Dumpling steps forward, bowing her head and admitting she never suspected him of being a demon worshipper. She thanks him for helping them root out the evil festering within her order. The cat guy scratches his neck awkwardly, telling her that bowing her head doesn't suit her at all, and that he only did it to clear his own debt. Kimchi Dumpling snaps her head back up, yelling that gratitude and ignoring his thief crimes are two separate matters. She points her finger at him, accusing him of illegally smuggling away the captured demon contractor from the underpass. The cat guy snaps his fingers with a smirk, saying he knew this was coming. A dark shadow materializes behind our guy as a hooded assassin girl steps out from thin air, addressing the cat guy as her leader. The cat guy introduces her, telling her the paladin wants the demon contractor's body, prompting the assassin girl to state she will fetch the corpse immediately. Our guy turns his eye toward the assassin, his gamer brain recognizing her class kit instantly. A flashback reveals he remembers the high-level Deathbringer class, an elite level 150 rogue advancement used by hardcore edgelord roleplayers who sold their souls to the dark. The cat guy mocks Kimchi Dumpling for using honorable speeches just to ask for a corpse, making her face turn beet red with rage. He literally mocks her voice, making an exaggerated face that drives her wild. She goes to draw her mace, but the lion archmage steps in front of her, telling her to stand down. Our guy watches her put her weapon away, noting internally that despite her temper, a priest is still a priest. He looks down at his boots, realizing he has 0 remaining quest objectives in this city. He recalls the very first cultist he fought in the forest, the one who begged for mercy and mentioned the Mabel Merchant Guild in Tatara. He turns his back on the party, deciding that since the story keeps dropping references to Tatara, that's where the main quest continues. Kimchi Dumpling calls out, asking where he is going, and our guy drops a cold line about going to clean up the rest of the maggots. Her eyes light up, asking if he already knows where the remaining cultists are hiding. Before he can step away, the lion archmage steps directly into his path, telling him he cannot leave right now. The old lion speaks with gentle authority, reminding him that he ran overnight and fought continuously through the entire morning without a single second of rest. He warns him that fatigue blinds a warrior's eyes and that demons never miss an opening created by exhaustion. Our guy pauses, internally agreeing with the logic, but reminding himself that a true edgelord roleplayer never takes sensible advice easily. He looks at the archmage through his bangs, telling the lion not to project his own physical weakness onto him and that any opening just serves as bait. The lion archmage closes his eyes, admitting that as an old man, he is indeed weak and lacks stamina. He looks our guy dead in the eye, asking if overworking oneself to help others can truly be called devotion. The camera zooms in on the archmage's bright blue eyes as he delivers absolute peak wisdom. The world exists because you exist. You must stand tall yourself before you can support others. Silence falls over the courtyard as his staff glows under the starlight. Our guy turns his side profile, telling the sage to save his preaching because he doesn't care for devotion or saving others. He looks up at the sky, uttering his final line, "I simply don't wish to see those demon bastards running rampant for another second." He flexes his dark gauntlet, telling the sage to live according to his own truth, for he shall do the same. The archmage listens in silence, a soft, proud expression warming his lion face. Our guy walks off into the dark, looking like an absolute god of anti-heroes. Then we cut to his internal thoughts. He is blushing furiously, thinking about how every great edgelord character needs a wise mentor NPC to bounce off of to make the character truly shine. Then his internal gamer brain panics, realizing that traveling back to Tatara on foot means another 24 real-time hour walk across the map. The cat guy rogue watches him walk away, scratching the back of his neck. He lets out a chuckle, calling our guy an absolute handful. He calls out to our guy's back, asking if he is heading toward the Tatara trading post. He offers to arrange the fastest horses in the entire city for him. He smirks, noting these steeds are far superior to temple nags, and will get him to Tatara in just 2 or 3 hours. He turns to Kimchi Dumpling, asking if it's true that she is the chosen hero of Revelation. She puffs out her chest proudly, confirming she received a divine revelation despite her flaws. The cat guy gives her another deadpan look, making her snap her teeth at him in irritation. He shrugs, stating he doesn't help just anybody, and that he genuinely hates temple snobs. Kimchi Dumpling listens quietly as his tone turns serious. He admits that while he hates the church, he hates demons and the human scum who act like them 1,000 times more. He reaches into his cloak and tosses a heavy wooden object through the air. Our guy catches it effortlessly in his gloved hand, looking down at the carved wooden crest. A snake crest is carved into the surface. It's an elite info guild pass, an ultra-rare item that lets players buy top-secret intel in any major tavern. Our guy stares at it in total shock, remembering that the quest requirements to get this item in the game were absurdly strict, asking what the price is. The cat guy grins, saying he already received the payment, telling our guy to just keep living the way he has been. The cat rogue sprints off down the street to fetch the horses, shouting over his shoulder that he isn't giving the church members a single discount. Our guy stands outside the temple, staring at the pass and internally hoping he can just sleep off his fatigue stat while waiting for the horses. Kimchi Dumpling claps her hands together, happily inviting him to rest in the temple dormitory rooms until the horses arrive. Our guy hesitates, thinking that a demon knight sleeping inside a holy temple breaks roleplay character in every possible way. Then he remembers his fatigue stat is literally chipping away at his health bar, deciding his character would totally compromise for free high-tier horses. He walks up the stone steps and steps through the grand wooden doors of the dormitory. The camera pans up the gorgeous, sunlit interior of the temple hall. Kimchi Dumpling and the archmage lead him down the long carpeted hallway toward the guest rooms. Our guy looks at his own hands, a heavy, terrifying thought creeping into his mind. He stares into the dark corridor, asking himself a question he has been avoiding for 2 days. What if this isn't a VR bug? What if he was actually transmigrated into the real world of the game? He slams his face into his hands internally, realizing that if this world is real, every single cringe edgelord line he uttered aloud was witnessed by actual living people. Kimchi Dumpling opens a room door, telling him he can use this bedroom while she and the archmage stay in the women's wing. Our guy steps inside, internally swearing that if transmigration turns out to be real, he will die of pure cringe on the spot and immediately drop his Chunibu persona forever. Cut to the sunset outside. As crimson clouds blanket the sky over the temple, the archmage stands by the hallway window, looking into our guy's quiet bedroom with a solemn expression. He turns to Kimchi Dumpling, whispering softly that the Demon Knight has finally reached his absolute limit, as our guy lies completely passed out cold on the bed from maxed out physical exhaustion. Inside the quiet temple dormitory, Kimchi Dumpling stands up from her chair, asking the Archmage what he meant by saying our guy reached his limit. The Lion Archmage looks out the window, explaining that while our guy possesses insane mental fortitude, he has been constantly pushing himself past human endurance. He notes that while priests train their minds alongside their bodies, our guy focused exclusively on exterminating demons to keep dark thoughts from creeping in. He turns to her, asking if a human can truly keep that up without eventually breaking completely. The camera zooms in on the old lion's blue eyes as he lowers his voice. He admits that over the past few days, behind our guy's overwhelming strength, he saw glimpses of deep despair, exhaustion, and fear. A dark visual of our guy clutching his gauntlet in the void appears, as the Archmage wonders if our guy is subconsciously waiting for his own destruction. Kimchi Dumpling gasps, her eyes wide with horror, as she asks if he means our guy intends to perish together with the demon in his arm. The Archmage clears his throat, stating that no one can truly understand the depth of pain another person carries. He admits he wishes he could have an honest, heart-to-heart talk with him, but feels he has no right to pry into his soul. Kimchi Dumpling looks down at her boots, her voice filled with guilt as she remembers attacking him when they first met. The Archmage walks over, placing a comforting hand near her shoulder. He quotes her own earlier words back to her, agreeing that their paths crossed for a reason. He looks down at her softly, stating that if our guy lacks the capacity to care for his own life, then they simply need to watch over him more carefully. Kimchi Dumpling looks up at the old lion with shining green eyes, admitting she still has so much to learn. The Archmage smiles, telling her that for now, they should keep the Demon Knight in their thoughts and focus on getting rest before morning. He wishes her a good night and steps out of the dormitory room. The heavy wooden door clicks shut behind him as he walks down the dimly lit hallway. His robes rustle softly against the stone floor in the quiet night. He looks up at the arched ceiling, reflecting on an age overflowing with demons and humans who act worse than monsters. He realizes that if they hadn't met the Demon Knight, they would have walked straight past Soman without ever uncovering the dark corruption inside the church. A visual contrast flashes across the panel, showing corrupt priests selling human lives on one side, and our guy standing in glowing light, saving victims on the other. The old lion whispers to himself, wondering if meeting this tragic hero was truly guided by divine fate. Cut to a cozy, warm potion shop in the Soman commercial district as morning sunlight hits the glass windows. The shop doorbell rings softly as someone steps inside. A silver-haired elf woman with glasses named Skyla calls out from behind the counter, saying they just closed for the day. She turns around, adjusting her wire-rimmed glasses as she recognizes the visitor. She smiles warmly, greeting the cat guy stalker as her little kiddo and asking what brings him here after his temple business. The cat guy looks sideways, his green cat ears twitching awkwardly. He scratches behind his ear, demanding 4 of the absolute fastest horses in her stables for tomorrow morning. She walks over to the wooden counter, asking where they are heading, and gets surprised when he answers the Tara trading post. She leans over the desk, pointing out that borrowing elite horses for someone else is completely out of character for him. She blinks, then a huge teasing smile breaks across her face. She leans right into his face, asking if he is doing all this for that dark mercenary guy. The cat guy flushes with embarrassment, grumbling about why she asks when she already knows the answer. She sparkles with joy, teasing that she thought her little kiddo was finally ready to venture out into the wide world. He turns to walk out, saying he isn't going anywhere, but she drops a firm condition: if he takes her prized horses, he has to ride with them. The cat guy freezes, his green eyes narrowing as he looks back at her. He asks if she wants him to spy on the mercenary, pointing out that the Demon Knight is suspicious from head to toe. Skyla's expression turns calm and serious as she looks at him through her glasses. She steps closer, gently placing a hand against his chest cloak. She tells him to observe the Demon Knight and envision his own future, to see if that man is someone worth emulating, and decide what kind of person he wants to become. The cat guy stands frozen, sweat dripping down his cheek as her words hit home. He snaps out of it, pulling his cloak back and grumbling about why she treats him like a child when he is a full-grown man. She adjusts her glasses with a playful smile, telling him to come pick up the horses 2 hours before departure. He glares at her for a second, his cat ears flattening back. He slams the shop door shut behind him, storming out into the street. Skyla stands behind the counter with her hands on her hips, watching him go. She closes her eyes, a fond, maternal smile gracing her face. She whispers to herself that no matter how tough he acts, he is still just a kid at heart. Cut back to the dark temple dormitory under the crescent moon. Inside his room, our guy is frantically spamming the voice command, getting 4 red pop-ups back to back. Command unavailable. He clutches his dark gauntlet in a panic, begging the system to just let him log out. A sea of red error windows floods the entire panel around him, suffocating the room. He sits on the edge of the bed, putting his gloved hands together as a cold reality sinks in. He realizes he is completely trapped inside the game, panicking over whether he will end up on the national news as a loser who died alone in a VR pod. A visual of his own funeral portrait appears, surrounded by black ribbons and burning incense. He visualizes his parents weeping at his coffin, thinking about how dying before your parents is the ultimate act of disrespect. He even visualizes his online Webtoon subscribers leaving RIP comments on his forum board, wondering if they will mock his death. He rubs his right gauntlet, complaining that on top of going insane, his arm is itching like crazy. He stares blankly at the stone floor, sweating profusely because despite breathing and feeling alive, the reality of dying doesn't feel real. Then he suddenly freezes. Question marks literally float all around his head. He blinks. A massive light bulb goes off in his brain. He recalls searching the entire sewer map without a single floating minimap icon or quest marker. He remembers experiencing realistic leg cramps during the carriage ride that no normal game developer would ever code. He thinks back to sleeping in the forest, recalling the disgustingly detailed ecosystem of insects and wind physics. He sits up straight on the bed, his mind connecting every single anomaly together at once. His eyes go wide with absolute terror. He looks at the single burning candle on the nightstand, asking himself the ultimate question: what if he isn't trapped in a game, but was transmigrated into another world? What if everything he experienced isn't game code, but this world's actual physical reality? What if every single NPC standing in front of him is a real, living human being? His face completely distorts into a black and white shock frame. He grabs his head and screams into the night air, realizing that if this is real life, he needs to stop his cringe edgelord roleplay bullshit immediately before he dies of pure embarrassment.